You have what it takes. Tighten your belts. Shut your visor. The battle begins now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast here for Race Department's IndyCar World Series Round 5 from Sao Paulo today, the 50 laps around the Interlagos circuit. And it will be a fascinating race, this one. It's an interesting circuit, and I feel like it's going to be an interesting one for Indy cars. I mean, it's fascinating enough with F1 cars, so with Indy cars, it should add a little bit more spice to the races. Alongside me for today is Mr. Dan Marr. Say hello, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully it's going to be an interesting race. And yes, as you say, I think it will be fascinating to watch the IndyCars racing around here today. It's a long enough race in order to really test the drivers, but not too long as to really give you a chance to make a mistake and then make it up throughout the rest of the race. So drivers are going to have to be that little bit careful, but also push really hard.
Yes, for sure. So it'll be a test of endurance as well as sort of a test of general pace in these cars. Obviously, very different cars to drive than the sort of usual F1 cars, with their design a bit different and very entertaining. What I've noticed, I've been noticing that there's been a lot of backing behind Indy cars these days with the way they're going. With the series in general and with the racing. Seems like it might be something F1 may need to watch, to be honest, because I feel like, I don't know about you, Dan, but I feel like it seems to me that F1 might need to watch their back, because I think IndyCar might start sort of overtaking it at the rate it's going.
Well, IndyCar, I've always felt that their racing has been superb, and I think that trying the two very different cars in R Factor 2 and in fact in various other simulators over the years, I felt that, for me, they just feel more natural, they just feel more comfortable. For me, they're quite aesthetically pleasing. You know, for some, that doesn't really fit everyone. I quite like the sort of big and bulky nature of the Indy cars, but it really works for the racing because there's enough aero to make it interesting, but not enough as to mean that you can't follow other cars. Of course, this is crucial for stuff like oval racing, which we do see in the Race Department IndyCar series. Of course, last time out, the Indy 500, that was supposed to be a fantastic race as well. And I think generally we're going to get some fantastic circuit racing here today.
Yeah, indeed, yes. Not the sort of numbers that you may see elsewhere or in other leagues we've run here at RD. Only 18 drivers here so far. I believe we're meant to have 22 that are the full grid. I suspect a few guys might be absent from this round, which is why we've got slightly less numbers. But just because you have less numbers does not mean you do not have fantastic racing. So I do expect that we should have some great battles. It looked like the pace there at just the end of practice there, it looked like the top few were really close on pace, like within a tenth or two is what I'm talking on that, as one of our pace car men joins the server. So James Wilson at the moment is provisionally on pole, 114.288. Tal Seagal is 7 tenths down. He just improved to 114.992. Only 4 people have done laps so far. Ooh, looks like Andrew Harper's crashed out by the looks of it, which is why he's back in the lane. 15 minutes to go in this session, still plenty of time. Obviously, a lot of people, I suspect, will be waiting for that end of session rush. Obviously, when the trackers rub it in, of course, as we mentioned before with R-Factor 2 down, obviously the dynamic track really adds that extra layer, doesn't it, to the qualifying sessions, as you want to be that, the absolute last guy starting a lap.
You want to, because of course, dynamically changing racing lines, dynamic amounts of grip we've got on the circuit, but of course, it's a must. For me, it's a trade-off, because you want the rubber down, but if everyone goes out at the last minute, you can't really expect the circuit to rubber in just as well. If you're all leaving at the last minute, of course, as well, and putting it off the last minute, you're going to encounter traffic. So sometimes, if you feel that maybe there can be too much grip in these cars, sometimes maybe you feel that you just want to get away from traffic, setting some banker laps early. Whilst not having the most amount of grip available, you could still be away from the traffic, which I think could be crucial come the end of the session.
Yeah, indeed, no, very true. It's a very good point. 17 drivers. I apologise for the number check there. We've got 2 17 drivers, and the other 2 are our race directors slash safety car drivers, and Matthias Machado and Lorenzo Bondo, and they're the other 2 there on the end of the guys on the track, or in the service road at the moment. 3 guys going around at the moment, but Tal Segal's just finished his final lap, obviously, of course. With this series, it's 3 flying laps, and that is it. 3 max, sorry. So you get the 1 out lap, 1 in lap, pit in lap, sorry, and then you get 3 flyers. And Tal is done, so he's now circulating back to the lane. So his final time, 1:14.992. James Wilson still provisionally on pole with that 1:14.288. He's also done 4 or 5 laps, so he won't be able to do any more. Norman Bruce is also done with the 1:16.902. That's his final time. I think Andrew's actually going to be done as well, because he won't be able to get out there and do another lap without exceeding the lap limit. We've got a couple of the guys out on track, but at the moment it is pretty quiet, Dan. But as we mentioned, I think in about 5 minutes' time or so, I think that's when we're going to start seeing a lot of guys going out on the track and trying to pump out those laps.
Exactly. We're just, like I say, you've got to really bide your time, but also pick your moment very well indeed. It's all well and good waiting for the last minute, as we were saying a moment ago. But as we can say, the driver's getting in the laps only, and of course, Tal Segal in second place is at 7/10 of a second behind James Wilson. So it's not just about the grip levels here in this series and here at Interlagos. It is a circuit which requires full dedication from all the drivers. Don't get us wrong, we say it's a real driver's circuit. Lots of undulation, lots of quick corners, a couple of slow corners to really challenge your braking, your turning abilities as well. And it's a circuit steeped in Formula One and in motor racing history.
Yeah, indeed, for sure. It's a classic track as well. Just watching Frederick there, he's on a lap at the moment, just starting his second lap, and he was absolutely tail happy there as he went through turn 2. He was on the edge and a half.
Not something you want to be doing here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, really on the limit of what this car can do. As you say, though, Interlagos very much steeped in history in the motor racing world, especially F1, of course. F1's where it's mostly known for, but it is steeped in history elsewhere, especially in Brazilian racing, in the stock car series they have over there and the like. Not really, obviously not a track that the IndyCars really visited, but nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle this, because as you mentioned, the IndyCar is a bit of an interesting car to drive, not the same as your typical F1 car. So trying to see how these drivers handle these cars with, especially during the race with high fuel loads, is going to be really fascinating, I think, Dan.
I definitely expect it to be highly fascinating throughout the fifth race that we have here today. It's, as we said, it's an interesting circuit. The IndyCars I don't think they've visited here before. They've gone to, obviously, Sao Paulo for a street circuit race at a couple of points in the mid to early to mid noughties and 2010s. But I think just because these cars aren't quite as quick as Formula One doesn't make them as any slower, doesn't make them any more or any less exciting, I would suggest. Of course, these cars can be such a challenge. They are very similar in terms of combustion engines, but very different in terms of the way that the power output's been given. Of course, you've got the twin-turbo setups, the twin-turbo V6s, which have less power than the Formula One cars, but they crucially, don't have all the electronic systems. It is literally just your right foot and being able to judge when to put the power down when you can.
Yeah, exactly right. That is the main difference, I feel, with these cars. They don't have all that sort of technological wizardry that the F1 cars of today's age and past ages have. They're very much a driver's car, and that's what makes them so entertaining to watch, I feel, because they can get very squirrely when you try and drive around the track. I know I've had a bit of a go in these cars, not too much. I certainly don't have as much experience as probably everyone in the field, to be honest, but done a few laps in these cars around a couple of tracks, and yeah, they are very, very lively cars to drive, but very fulfilling too. I feel like if you can get the car set up properly and you can really nail this thing in terms of pace and lap times and consistency, it'd be a lot of fun to drive. We're starting to see a little bit more activity out on track. We've got a few other cars out now, so it's getting to that period of the session where drivers start to head out and do their laps. We've got a new provisional pole sitter. Frederick Schornstein is on provisional pole on 14.172. Jumps James Wilson by a tenth. But whether that will stay or not, we'll see. I suspect not, but we'll see how this goes as the session progresses. Still got plenty of time. We're just about to come up on the halfway mark. And yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how these cars handle this circuit. As we said, it's challenging enough, I feel, in F1 cars. In these things, I think it's going to be interesting, especially as well, of course, with the safety cars we have in the IndyCar series. It's going to make it even more fascinating, isn't it, in terms of strategy? You know, will people alter their strategies as the safety cars come out? Will they stay out? What will they do in that regard? It's really going to makes it very much a multi-faced race in a sense, with the strategy and the racing.
It makes a real challenge for the drivers, of course. If you think this is challenging in a Formula One car, imagine doing the 6-hour race they used to host in the WEC here. But I will suggest these cars are good to drive. The tire actual length of their life isn't horrendous. The fuel, again, isn't horrendous, but it's enough to really make you consider, I've got to pick and choose my moment. Am I going to do a different strategy? Am I just going to try and follow the convention? Of course, as you say, the safety car will come into play here. This circuit is very quick, it's very challenging. We can see sometimes, even though it's not usually turns 1 and 2, we see a lot of the issues. It can be these corners we saw just a few moments ago, turns 3 and 4, which are the biggest issues at the circuit, especially on the first lap. But I think the drivers, if they're proactive and if they just sort of relax into the race a little bit, we should see a lot less tendency and a lot less need for the safety car over the coming 50-lap race. Of course, as you were saying, Sean Steen on pole position, 1:14.172. He's only a tenth and a bit up, though, from James Wilson, so that's quite close to the front of the field. We've got, I think, 5 drivers at the moment who are covered by 8 tenths of a second. Tobias Rona has now moved up into 3rd place, 1:14.603, for 0.430 down on Sean Steen. And also, we did see, up until a few moments ago, Alex Domenicantio hopefully got that right anyway, 1:14.8, 7 tenths of a second behind. I have practiced it, but we've got a load of drivers, thick and fast, so I'll leave you to update the standings at the moment.
Yeah, cheers on that. Yeah, it's starting to pick up. As I said, everyone's starting to come out now on track. In fact, I almost think everyone's going to be done with their laps with about 5 minutes to go at this rate. I think everyone who is left to do a lap is on track. So it is high activity right now. It is still Frederick, though. He still is on provisional pole. Ali Ferry is at the moment going around 3rd place, 3 tenths off, or 0.353 to be precise, on their second lap. We'll see how they go. Keep an eye on that. Nathaniel Upson as well is also going along. He's only 5 tenths down in 5th, and he's got another couple laps to do. So we've got a couple of guys here who are looking pretty pacey on their first run, and they've still got more laps to go. So we'll keep an eye on Ali Ferry here, coming through the final few sweeping corners here as they fly down the straight towards the start-finish line. Let's have a look and see how this lap is. I wouldn't be surprised if it improves, and it doesn't. There you go. So stays on 3rd spot with the 1:14.526. Got one more lap to go, and then they're out of laps, and that is their run done. Nathaniel Upson is just exiting the final corner now onto the main straight, sweeping straight. I guess technically this would be the final corner, but I'm going to say that left-hander back there is the final corner because technically, in my mind, it is. But either way, heading up towards the line. And Lubson doesn't improve either. So this is interesting to see. I think actually from memory, I'm thinking back to the first round at Sebring, and I think I remember this happening as well. They did a really flying first lap, and then the second and third lap, they wouldn't improve. Which is interesting because you would think, wouldn't you, that it'd be the opposite effect. It'd get quicker with time. But I remember at Sebring, a couple of people had that case where they did a really quick first lap, and then preceding laps just weren't as quick.
Yes, exactly. It's all about tyre degradation and tyre drop. You were suggesting a moment ago about Nathaniel Upson, who was quick in the first and the third sectors. He dropped down in the second sector, which was the cause for his non-increase of his lap time overall. But what I think is important is to consider the fact that I've seen 1 or 2 guys locking up as they've been turning into a couple of the very tight corners, especially the final hairpin Benko Pato, which is turn number 10. And I've seen a lot of people locking the front right wheel there, which is something you don't want to be doing, considering the next corner is a very long right-hander, and most of the rest of the course after that is right-handers, so that's not going to help. But it's all down to the way that you have the tyres. If you take it a bit more gently and maybe a bit more conservatively coming into the first lap or so, you can still get the really good tyre life, the really nice levels of grip through it. But depending on the way you drive and depending on the way you're trying to put temperature into the tyres, that can really upset the tyres, the balance of the car, and overall upset your lap time, which is something you don't want to see. But of course, as you've been saying, it is interesting for these drivers who often do fantastic quick laps in the first lap, but then can't improve over the next couple of courses, whether they're just trying to push too hard or whether it's just because of the tyre degradation, as we're saying. We don't quite know. We can just sit here and contemplate, but we've got to consider it, and I think this is anyone actually watching who's aspiring to come and join the series. Could really something to take away from this qualifying session.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely something to take note. I've got a few guys still going along. Oh, Matthew Beavis just doing a nice lap there. Goes to 7th, half a second or thereabouts off the lead. Very close in the top, even the top 10. Top 10 only covered by 7/10, which is great signs for the race later on.
It is.
Still Frederick Schornstein. He's still got the provisional pole at the moment, and James Wilson is still second. So, and again, bearing in mind, James was one of the first to get a lap done. So that sort of shows having that clear track, how important that is compared to having that ideal racing kind of grip level. Stander Sendal is done as well in 4th spot. They managed to get 4/10 off with 1:14.573, so good stuff there for the Sim Tech boys. Trevor Greenfield also improved. He now goes about half second off. He moves to 7th spot. That drops Beavers down, but Beavers has one more lap, as does Greenfield, so they'll have one more run of the dice before they're out. Sherwood Van Slot also slots into 10th. He's also just over half a second off. Those guys, 7th to 10th is covered by literally, what is that, 0.032 of a second. That is ridiculously close.
300ths of a second is incredibly close. And to put that into perspective, the top 10 covered by 0.572 of a second as well, as you can see on the live timing. So it really shows that these cars work for the drivers, but it's not balanced to one particular driver. It shows just how easy it is to get to grips and to do a fairly competitive lap time in these cars. And it also shows that you need to do a good amount of practice. You need to really be dialed in with the car, the setup and everything. And it shows if you can drive these cars quickly, even if it's just on one lap, as we've seen from James Wilson, that you can be right up there.
Yes, for sure. So we're just watching Trevor Greenfield. He's coming through the final part of the circuit now, as is Sean Van Slot. They're actually almost line astern, the two of them, as they go along. See where Greenfield goes. He improves and goes 3rd spot. Great lap from Greenfield as he moves up into 3rd spot. Sherwin stays where he is, and that's their laps done. So I believe we're literally only got one more person left to go. And that's Seisman. He's in 17th spot at the moment, 6 seconds off the pace. Seems to be struggling a little bit with the cars, which certainly I do not blame him. These cars are definitely not easy to drive, that is for sure. But he's the last one now to complete lap. He's got one more lap to go, which is this one he's on now. And then that is it. And then, yeah, all the drivers have done their laps. And there is still 1:40 to go in the session. But as we said, I mean, I guess it's just everyone wanted to get those laps done, get him out of the way. So we'll just watch Seisman now as he comes around the final part of the circuit, just heading towards the final corner now. He'll try to get the power down as best he can, try and get the best speed out of that corner as he heads down the main straight. You want to try and get really optimize that exit as you come down the straight, or else you're going to lose so much momentum as you go through this part of the circuit. As he goes through now, let's see where that time is. Hopefully he can at least get close to sort of the 15th, 16th spot there. Let's have a look. He does improve, but stays 17th on a 1:19.737. So that is pretty much it. 1 minute to go, but that is all the drivers done with their laps. So it's looking like Frederick Schornstein is going to take the pole here at Brazil, 1:14.172. And as we mentioned, though, I mean, the battle I think to watch throughout the race is going to be 5th to 10th, because the gaps between 5th to 10th is just under 0.2 of a second, which is just ridiculous how close that is, isn't it?
It is very close indeed, and I do think that it is going to be a fantastic battle to watch throughout the race. And of course, it actually, just looking on the timing screens now, between Frederick Schornstein and Tal Segel, it's 12 places we've got to think in between there. 0.8 of a second is all that covers them. And considering this circuit, 2.5, 3 miles long, it is a very interesting, and also a 2.677 miles long according to my data. And it shows you just how close it is. And it's going to be a fantastic way to see the race.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be so it's going to be a fascinating race for us here in the 5th round of the Race Department IndyCar World Series. As I said, very close qualifying there, especially in the top half of the field. So I think that battle in the top 10 is going to be very, very fascinating indeed. So before we head towards the race, we'll obviously have the warm-up and the forming up sort of session for the drivers. But before then, we'll just fit in a quick break now before we go to the race. And when we get back, we'll start to get ourselves revved up for the race ahead. Welcome back after that little break. So, looking to the standings quickly before we head out to the race as the drivers are doing their quick warm-up now. On top is Frederick Schornstein for TXL Racing, 136 points at the moment. He leads by 31 points from Matt Davis for MK Motorsport. James Wilson for Doug Henson Racing is in third currently, 104. So Matt and James are very close indeed, 1 point between the two. So that's probably the battle to watch for this race. James is in the prime position at the moment with second place on the grid. So we'll see how that goes as the race goes on. Charles Bacchio is fourth for Talking Door Racing Red with Luke Walsh fifth for Syntec, although I don't believe he is here for this round. So he won't be gaining any points here. Alex Di Domenico Antonio for Albertelia Racing is in sixth on 70 points, only 3 points behind Walsh. So he's got a big chance here to gain a spot, a nice easy spot actually in the championship. Trevor Greenfield in seventh for Redwood Racing, a point behind Alex. And it's Campbell Wallace, Evan Spall in ninth, and then Sherwin van der Sloot rounds out the top 10 for that second Sim Tech Motorsport car. Of note as well, Abby Ferry down in 11th spot, and Lubson as well. So Ferry and Lubson sort of just outside the top 10, but they've qualified really well here, so they have a good chance to gain some really big points in that fight. Those guys from sort of 6th all the way down to about sort of 11th, 12th, very, very close indeed. So some very fascinating fights that could switch around here in this round of the championship with a few guys not here and or qualifying not as well as they've shown in previous races. So just waiting for, just got the warm up now, then they'll do their recon laps, and then we'll begin the formation before we go green. So yeah, as we mentioned, Dan, it's going to be, I suspect, a really, really fascinating battle, especially that sort of back end of the 10 battle. There's just so many guys who are almost identical on pace that it just promises to be a really, really close fight as the race goes on.
As we see in pretty much every motor racing championship, it is the midfield battle is often the most exciting one to see, where they're playing for the points but maybe not playing for the big points, and that's why it seems to be so fiercely contended. Of course, Alex Di Domenico in 6th place, and between him and Tal Seagal in 13th place, just 20 points between them. 6 people combined by 20 points, so it is showing just how close the championship is. And it is going to be one to watch, as you say. This is the final road course of this season before we head over to Fortana in a few weeks' time. That will be on the 13th of August, so in about 2 weeks' time. And that will be a fascinating oval race. Of course, this last road course race, it's really good time to strut your stuff, but also, seeing as you've got the massive back straight from the end of Sect 2, which is at Junkow, all the way to the centre S's at turns 1 and 2, and then you've got the big straight at turns up towards turns. Well, it really shows that maybe they're just going to get a bit of a cheeky practice in slipstreaming, these guys, which will really benefit you. It's like in any racing. If you can get it to perfection, it really boosts your lap time. But if you're sitting far too close, well, it can end in disaster. And of course, the midfield, they're so close together, we don't know what's going to happen over the next 50 laps. But that's what we're here. We're going to be here to guide you through all the action that happens as you worry. So keep tuning on in, and we will let you know what's happening as it happens. I'm sure me and Thomas will do as much as we can to make your viewing as good as it can be, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm definitely backing that one. It's going to be a fascinating race to be watching here. Hopefully it'll be an entertaining one. I suspect it will be, with how close that battle is, even just amongst the top 10 in general. I suspect we're going to have some really close, really good racing, and I think the nature of Interlagos just promotes that even further. So I suspect a lot of slipstreaming, as you said. I think we'll have some pretty crazy slipstreaming battles, to be honest, as you head down towards turn 1 as the race goes on. Again, as we mentioned, these cars obviously not nowhere near really as technically advanced, or technologically advanced, sorry, as the F1 cars of today, so very much down to the driver and their skill. So with that in mind, I think the slipstreaming battle is just going to be very, very intense as the race wears on. And yeah, make sure we'll be taking you through the action as best we can. Should be, as I said, fascinating race, and we'll see how many safety cars there are. I think Sebring, from memory, there were a few safety cars in that race. It was a bit of an interesting one to start the season. So we'll see if there's sort of as many here. I suspect we may see at least a couple, I would say. I mean, this track, just because of how tough it is and how tough these cars are to drive, I could just see a couple of guys having some major incidents which could trigger a safety car. but we'll see how we go. Be sure to keep involved in the Twitch there. It's no, actually, no one said anything yet. It's kind of saddening me. If you want to get involved, be sure to get involved in the chat there. I do have it open here, and I'm sure Dan has it open as well, so we can keep an eye on what you guys are saying. And yeah, just sort of get you guys involved in the broadcast. So only got a couple, or not even a couple of minutes, we've got seconds to go in the warm-up before we do the recon and we start to prepare for the start of the race. So anyone you're looking out for in particular in this one, Dan, especially keeping in mind, as you mentioned, how close that championship is, with people like James Wilson who may have a chance to really gain buckloads of points over the competitors.
Well, as we see, obviously, Frederick Schornstein was doing fantastic in qualifying, so I'm going to put my eyes on him tentatively. But the midfield, you can't really put any money on it because you're just putting far too much risk on it. I'm pretty sure an equity manager would not be particularly pleased if you did. So I'm just going to sit down and limb, and I'm going to watch the racing and try and enjoy it as much as you can. Obviously, as Thomas was saying, he will be monitoring the Twitch. I will be monitoring the department's live stream. So if you want to get in touch with us, then they are the channels to get involved with us with. If you're watching this retroactively, so if you're watching this a little bit on in the future, then do leave comments in. I'm sure anyone on the race department staffing team will help you out with any questions you've got. And also head over to RaceDepartment and then head on to the forums if you are interested by this racing. You think, oh, I could get involved with this. I'm pretty handy in an IndyCar around Sao Paulo. Has anyone got a team drive going? In all seriousness, if you're interested in getting a drive, then I would suggest coming over to Race Department. You can see all sorts of fantastic racing clubs and racing championships. We're not restricted to our Factor 2. All the major sims are covered at the forums, whether it's Assetto Corsa, Automobilista, as you suggested earlier, whether you've got Project Cars, whether, just any simulators out there. We're here to help you guys get involved in sim racing to race online competitively for fun or even for a league.
Exactly, yeah, all sorts of catered for pretty much all levels. We've got the club races, of course, more of a casual, fun time. They're a lot of fun too. By the way, I have done a few of those in recent times, and they're a lot of fun. Still have the seriousness, of course, and still have sort of the general stuff that you have in racing. So the general sort of courtesy and the like of racing, but in a more sort of casual and laid back environment, which is really fun. It definitely can bring out the fun side of the sim racing hobby we all follow. But yes, if you are looking to get involved in a more serious side of things, then leagues are available here, like this one here, if you want to sort of get involved in a more competitive capacity for your sim racing needs. So yeah, head over to RaceDepartment.com. Plenty of, we cover pretty much all the major stuff actually. We've got R-Factor 2, of course, AMS is I think it's almost daily, I believe it is, AMS events going at Race Department, because it is a fantastic game, I've got to say, even though it's in early access, looking very good, and Razor are heading in a very good direction with that particular title. But yeah, so just make your way over to RaceDepartment.com, get involved in the community, and sign yourself up, and you can even next season, if we do another one of these IndyCar series, you may well be on the grid. You never know. So always just best to go over and find out. So got the recon laps now. The drivers are doing their little recon around the track as we get ready to form up for the rolling start. So that is obviously this sort of different style of start to other leagues and other series. Usually just kind of line up on the grid and then do the formation, then head off. But of course, with the way IndyCars are, the way the series operates, we do it a little bit differently here to other series. But yeah, I'm really quite excited for this one, Dan. We've got some very talented drivers in this field, and although we may not have the numbers of other leagues, even here at Race Department or elsewhere, I think the talent of the drivers is very, very high indeed in this series, especially with just how close it was in that top 10.
Exactly. It doesn't, just because we've only got sort of 18 cars out on grid, which is actually a fairly sizable entry compared to some of the racing leagues I race in, or know people racing on the likes of Forza Motorsport 6. But just because you've only got slightly smaller, doesn't mean the talent isn't there. We've seen the midfield is exceptionally close. Project Schornstein, James Wilson rather, they were about a tenth between each other, and that was for pole position. So it really does show that the numbers don't matter too much. If you can have a good race with anyone, then that is the important thing here.
Exactly. Yeah, it's much more about the quality of the field than the numbers, I feel. Especially in R-Factor 2, I think the having those really ridiculously big grids isn't necessarily what you're after, just because of the nature of R-Factor 2. So I believe pretty much the entire field now is just out of the lane. Most of the field's actually only just exited the lane, so there's a bit of a rolling train at the moment as they go through turn one. I did catch Martin Windus just giving the wall a little bit of a tap out of the pit lane. Sorry, Martin, I did see that. Very apologies. I had to mention. I'm sorry, but yeah, I had a little bit of a moment into the wall there as he tried to exit the lane, but no harm done by the looks of it. Looks like no damage to him, so that's all good. So yeah, we're just waiting now for the drivers to crawl around the circuit, do the little recce lap, and then we will line up and we'll begin the formation lap before we head off on this rolling start. Oh boy, I just noticed someone has actually disconnected. I think that's Kresnik Halili has actually disconnected. He's just rejoined now, so that is really he might actually be out, mightn't he? Because I don't think he'll be able to rejoin before the formation. That would be a real shame for him because I think he qualified in amongst that kind of, or just off that top 10. So hopefully for his sake he can get back in, but I'm not actually sure he can.
Well, fingers crossed anyway. Let's hope he gets in without any interruptions.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So just waiting on the field to go around. They're just heading through the final part of the circuit now, and they'll be joining up with the rest of the grid. And yeah, I don't know if he's actually going to be able to get in, so that's a real shame for him. There, just one of those things, of course, we have with sim racing, one of the unfortunate side effects, having those disconnections. Not much we can do about it, just a bit of an unfortunate curse that we, or unfortunate side effect.
February, so you'd be designing a car for a year or two ahead of the time, so you're spending money on something that might not even be competitive. You might not even be racing because you've run out of money. I think for sim racing, it just makes everything a lot more equal because unlike in the sort of the 60s, like historic GT and touring cars, for example, we love them because they're so different towards each other, as in they all do different things. But the difference in modern, as we say, GT racing, is the differences are so minute that if you've got an advantage in one area, that can just lead to an overall advantage because they're so similar. And this is why I think spec racing is where the real land lies at the moment in terms of sim racing and online racing, is purely because everyone has got an equal chance, and it's down to the driver talent to do what they do best, which is use their feet and their hands and whatever else they use in order to be as competitive as they can.
Exactly, yeah, definitely backing that statement. I think that's very true with the current mindset of racing. So we have done the recce, and we are now ready to head off. So Matthias Machado is going to be leading the drives around on the formation lap. Then we'll be going green after that. So it is Frederick Schornstein on pole position, leading the championship at the moment. So he'll be looking to get a clean start, just pretty much control the race, I'm sure is what he'll be hoping for. But it is 50 laps, so it is plenty of time for things to go wrong. But that's what he'll be hoping for, a nice clean race for him. James Wilson lines up behind him in second spot. Trevor Greenfield in fourth. Trevor Greenfield in third. Ali Ferry in fifth spot. Standis Sentinel is in... I'm getting really confused because Matthias Machado is showing up as leading, and that's just confusing me to no end. But anyway, I'll do my best at the moment. But Standis Sentinel is in fifth. And it's interesting to know because he is the one standing in for Luke Walsh at the moment, which is interesting to see. So a bit of a shout out to Standard there. A good qualifying performance from him is really putting him in amongst the mix with the established figures almost in this series. Tobias Rona in sixth spot, followed by Halili there in seventh spot. So he's the happy Halili, I'm sure, having to be able to get back into the game. Look, I'm sure we'll be hoping for a good result here. He's in amongst that battle we were talking about before the race or formation start. Matthew Beavis in eighth spot, followed by Nathaniel Lubson. Top couple of the guys fighting in that sort of top 10 battle in the championship. So they'll be looking to improve from there. Sean Van Slot is in 10th spot. Alex Di Domenico Antonio in 11th spot, followed by Tal Siegel in 12th. Charles Bacchio in 13th spot, followed by Martin Bindus in 14th. Campbell Wallace, Realish Racing, in 15th spot. Norman Bruce in 16th. And then rounding out the field is Seisman there in... Seisman in 17th. And then rounding out the field is Andrew Harper in 18th. Apologies, Matthias Machado there at the front is sort of confusing. But either way, the drivers are ready to go now. Safety cars pulled into the lane. We're under control of Frederick Sorensen now. I believe we're waiting on the call to go. Off he goes now. And we are green racing here at Interlagos for the 5th round of the IndyCar World Series here at Race Department. And I'll tell you what, Fredericks has got an absolutely fantastic start offline, already got a nice little breathing room to James Wilson as they head down into turn 1. It looks like in the midfield there's already some moving going on. It looks like Matthew Beaver's having a look at Hillary into turn 1, doesn't make moves stick, so he stays stationed. Lubson in ninth, I believe he's also Holland station, but that midfield is already looking very close indeed as they head through the initial corners and head down the back straight. Norman Bruce is an instant further back. He's dropped to the back of the field as Lily's had a moment through the left-hander there. He's going to drop behind Lubson even there as he had made a little mistake, went too deep into the left-hander, and he's going to drop back. He's trying to have a look down the inside, but he can't do it, so he drops to ninth spot. A little bit of a moment from him, but already that midfield is looking very, very close indeed as we head through the initial first lap. Still very close, although Seisman and a couple of others dropping back. But Frederick Sean Skeen leading by about half a second at the moment over James Wilson. He's already opening a very nice gap. I'd say it's almost a second now. Let's have a look. Yeah, a second. There you go. So Frederick's already absolutely bolting down the road from James Wilson. But James Wilson is also doing the same in a way to Trevor Greenfield, which is interesting. So it looks like that battle in the midfield is going to be the one to watch. And right now, the one to watch is Halili here with Sean Van Slot. Sherwin is looking very feisty right now to take that ninth spot. As look at this, how Halili goes to the inside, defends the inside as they go down the straight. I think Sherwin might try and go around the long way here. Is he going to do it? Let's have a look. Oh, he's done it, I think, before the corner even comes up. Wow, great move from Sherwin. Really nice braking, gets the move done, and he now moves to ninth. And Halili now down to 10th. He's actually got his teammate, Alex Di Domenico Antonio, behind him. So not a very good start for Halili after getting himself back in the game, but he's now looking like he may have a look at Sherwin. Let's have a look. Oh, he's close enough, but no, he doesn't. He sticks in behind. And already this midfield battle, Dan, is just looking very, very close indeed.
It is getting very close indeed. And like I say, that you saying the race leaders have started to go off and into the distance. They're just trying to gap each other and to make sure that they have got the best possible chance and the best possible gap between each other throughout the race. That's what you need to do. If you've got to pits, then you need to make a big gap for yourself. Just getting away from the traffic, though, is really quite helpful around here. The slipstream.
Apologies there, Dan.
Dirty can really throw you off.
Apologies there, Dan just dropped out there. Look at the little connection issue. He's back by the sounds of it, so it's good. But yeah, no, as you say, I agree with the slipstream. The slipstream is going to have a huge effect. I mean, we saw there with Sherman, he just easily sailed past literally in the slipstream. But now Didi Antonio is possibly going to get passed by Tal Siegel. He goes defensive down the main straight. We already saw with Halili, that didn't really make much of a difference. Let's have a look here. Siegel breaks later, and again, round the outside, easy as you like, gets the move done. So it's two moves already that we've seen around the outside in the first two laps. But what that does now mean is that Seagal's got a bit of a compromised edge. Didi Antonio is going to be looking as they head down the little bit of a short straight here in towards the middle sector. He has a look down the inside of the left-hander, but doesn't quite break late enough. That was very close to contact between the two, but in the end they managed to get through without any major issues. And I think Seagull's now got that signed, sealed and delivered, so he now moves up into 11th spot, and it's looking like even 7th and behind. So behind Nathaniel Lubson, is pretty close. And I think I did see, yes, there's a bit of a battle going on as well in 4th spot. Ali Ferry and Tobias Rona, they're fairly close. They head down towards the final corner, so I think we'll have keep a beady eye on them. So I reckon if Rona can get a good exit here, he may be able to challenge Ali down into the first corner, but he hasn't really got it. He's got a bit of a bad exit there out of the final corner. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move, so they hold station. We'll go back to this battle for 9th spot. I reckon right now Standard's going to be feeling the pressure from Lily here as they go down the straight. Look at the slipstream effect. It is so powerful as they head down the main straight. Almost 3 wide into turn 1. They all briefly go 3 wide. And they're going to both go around the outside. Lily goes around the outside and Siegel goes around the outside of Standard Senol, and he goes from 9th to 11th in one corner. Now Dimick Antonio is looking as well. It's so close between these guys in the midfield. And I think Dimick Antonio may have a look. Is he going to have a look? He looks again, but not quite close enough to make the move. It is so close right now. Tal Siegel goes wide, nearly makes a mistake, as does Alex. They both gather it up. But, geez, this battling in the midfield right now, Dan, is just super, super close. And I think, as you mentioned, I think the slipstream is going to be hugely powerful during the race. We're already seeing pretty insane moves around the outside of turn 1, which, you wouldn't expect, would you? But in these cars, it seems to be possible.
Yes, well, it is just following each other down the main straights. That is the key to getting a good slipstream. Junk out a very good corner for getting a good exit. But someone who isn't in the midst of a battle anymore, it is Frederick Stornstein, our race leader, 1:15.070, his fastest lap on lap 2. The last couple of laps he's doing 1 or 2 purple sectors, but not going much quicker. 2.7 seconds, the gap between himself and James Wilson in second place. He's really got the bit between his teeth, and as he heads up towards the line, he is really pushing hard.
Indeed he is. I'm just watching Tobias Ronan and Ali Ferry going side by side into turn 1. Ferry defends around the outside. Again, it seems that inside just is not working, and I suspect that might be down to the nature of the corner with the camber of it more than anything else. And here we go, Ronan now going round the outside. In the left-hander, he does it again, round the outside. Into the left-hander, Ferry goes wide as well, so that costs him some time as well. So, yeah, fascinating to see that everyone is going around the outside of everyone. Apparently, that's the default move.
That must be where the grip is.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, and I suspect, again, maybe the nature of the corners might just be helping these guys to do those kind of moves around the outside. Stander, by the way, is actually in the lane, so that is interesting to see. I suspect he must have had an instance somewhere, so that's a real shame for him. He's going to drop way down the order, which is a real shame for him, but it is a long race, as we mentioned, so anything can happen between now and the end, so there's every chance that he might find himself back in the fight a little bit later on. I think I did see someone switch. Who was that? Oh, it's Talsigo. He's round. Oh, he's dropped to 14th now in the field. It doesn't look like he's got any major damage, but either way, he now drops down to 14th spot. A real shame for him as he was in that midfield battle as well. What this does do is it means Matthew Beavis is 6th and Nathaniel Lobson moves up to 7th spot, so those two making good inroads here as we get into the meat of this race. And it looks like things are quieting down a little bit at the moment. I say that, and then it looks like Ali Ferry might have run at Tobias Ronan to head down once again into left-hander to begin the second sector of this track. But Ali's in the slipstream, but not quite close enough to make a move on Tobias Ronan. Work that gap, 2.8 seconds now in the lead. Frederick just keeps eking it out slowly but surely over his rival James Wilson. Wilson also has got a nice gap over Trevor Greenfield. About, about 2.2 seconds over Trevor Greenfield. And he's also got a nice gap of about 2.3 over Tobias Ronan. And it's that battle between himself, Ali Ferry, and Matthew Beavis. And Nathaniel Upson and Sherwin Van Slot are not far behind, so watch out for them to possibly get involved in that battle very soon. Oh, I'm just looking at Tal Seagull as well. He's had another incident down in 14th spot. He's lost his front and rear wing, and he is crabbing very, very badly. So real shame for Tal. Yeah, he was looking so promising on the pace he had to definitely be at least in the top 10, but it just looks like it's been one of those races where just not quite gone his way, and he is unfortunately leaving the lane. He is still going at least, which is better than could be said for Seisman, unfortunately, who's retired with suspension failure. I'm guessing that is from a major crash. I'm just looking at the replay, and oh, yeah, so he just lost it out of turn 2, lost the rear end and was straight into the wall and decided to call it quits there. So real shame for Seisman on that one. No safety car from that, probably because he spun off track and escaped pretty much straight away, so no need for it. And it's interesting to note, Stander's come back out and he's actually in amongst the midfield there as lap traffic, so that is going to be interesting to see how he goes, because we know he has the pace to be amongst them, but he's going to have to eventually yield if he starts holding up the guys around him. But I tell you what, as you mentioned, Dan, Frederick is just looking so commanding right now in the lead of this race.
He is. It seems to be every single sector he seems to be getting some green sector, which is always really showing how quickly he's going. It's the same for Seisman, who's into this race. Can you believe we've already had 15 minutes of some fantastic running? The gap was 3.5 seconds at most between Frederick Sornstein and James Wilson, but the gap is coming down just a little bit. It ebbs and flows depending on which sort of corners we head up to. The biggest will be 3 or 4 seconds. At the smallest, it'll be one, maybe 2 seconds at the most. But as you were saying before, Tal Siegel, it just sounded a bit like he was just sitting duck throughout the first part of the race, having constantly people going around the outside and then around him once again. Shame to see him dropping back quite so far. He's now down in 15th place, which is more or less dropped him completely out of contention.
Yeah, I've just noticed as well, Ronan's had a little bit of an incident. He's now dropped to 7th. I think he had a little bit of a twitch out of one of the corners, and he's dropped to 7th, and he's going to drop to 8th in a minute, because I think Sherwin's going to pass him down the main straight, and it looks like even 4th is under the pump as well. Sorry, 5th, that's Matthew Beavers having a look at Ali Ferry. Is he going to make the move stick? He's still there. Oh! So close to contact. They managed to get through, and look at this. Now Tobias, it's Nathaniel Lobson, sorry, he's gone. Thank you very much. I think he's going to take both of them down towards the left hand. A great move from Nathaniel. He's around the outside of Beavers. Can he do it? Oh, that is so close. And I think he's done it. No, they're still going at it. These three are having an absolutely almighty battle. As we head down into the middle sector, he's still there on the inside, but Beavis is just saying, I'm never giving up this position. They're still side by side. Oh no, it has gone off the inside and there's contact. It's a big incident there. Oh, real shame. Ali Ferry just going for the move on the two of them, and there was the contact, and that has ended in tears. It looks like they both haven't taken too much damage, so they've both managed to continue, but they have dropped down the field. Ferry now to 7th, the bumps from 8th, but that was some absolutely crazy battling right there.
What an absolute shame,
sector.
though, it's ended in tears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just looked like Ali just going for a move that potentially wasn't there. They're already too wide, and they're already pretty hairy. But either way, it's at least they're still going. They're still in the race. They'll continue on. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, because I'm sure they'll be trying to fight back to the field. Now, what this has done is put Tobias Rona back into 5th after his little mistake, and it's put Sherwin up into 6th spot. So watch this with interest. He's actually got his teammate standing behind him, who's obviously a lap down. So that's interesting to see. They've been really interesting through those corners. And actually, with Sally Ferry's looking like getting back at Nathaniel Upson. It's interesting to see how this goes after that incident. There might be a little bit of feeling between these two after that, but either way, they go along down towards the left-hander and they both get through. No worries. Interesting to note too, Didier Antonio has gotten past his teammate. I wouldn't be surprised if potentially they did a bit of a switcheroo there, as Didier Antonio is in a bit more of a prime position championship-wise for that team. But it's so close right now between that battle. 4th to 10th at the moment, covered by about 6 seconds. It is so close between those guys. I think during this race, as you mentioned, that's probably where all the main fighting is going to be as this race wears on.
Yeah, it's going to be exceptionally close. As you say, 4th to 10th is covered by 6 to 7 seconds. Well, that's 1 car a second, effectively. Nice and simple maths for everybody there. But it really does show the competitive nature of these cars, of this circuit and of the championship. We want to see people being up close. We want to see people racing. That's what we're getting here tonight. You know, sometimes we see the occasional sad moment when a driver has to drop out due to an incident, but it is showing just how hard these drivers are pushing to get the best results they can.
Exactly, yeah, no, it's very true. They're pushing these cars to the absolute limit. Definitely from that battle earlier on, they were just going absolutely hammer and tong in that fight for position. Right now, the one I'm watching is that 5th place battle. Tobias Rona is looking a little bit under threat right now from Sherwin Van Slot. And I'm seeing, who is that? Andrew Harper. They're just coming up on him. He's going a lap down on them, and he gets out of the way nicely. Okay, good stuff there from Andrew. So he gets out of the way nicely, this mid-pack squabble. But yeah, Tobias Rona looking under the pump right now from Sherwin Van Slot. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sherwin has a look soon. And again, Beavis is just kind of just up the road. And what all this battling is doing is the top three are just kind of cruising away. It's 3.9 seconds now. Frederick Scott over James. We'll see at this last sector if it's improved slightly. Just opens it up a little bit more, and that's pretty much been the case with Frederick so far. It's just been slowly but surely eking out that gap on James Wilson. He now has a nice commanding lead over the rest of the field. Then James himself has a nice lead over Trevor Greenfield. Not quite as much as Frederick has, but I believe that is about 2.4 seconds, or so 2.5 seconds between the two. Actually, no, it's even more now, as just opened a very nice gap in that last sector. But just looking back at this battle, it looks like it's staying stationary, although who's that? Didier Antonio is having a look at Ali Ferry here. This is for 8th spot. Let's have a look. He has a look down the inside. He was nearly contact then too. Ali Ferry goes wide, and that's going to let Alex through. Although I'm not sure on that one. It's a bit of an interesting one. It looked like Alex just going a little bit too deep, nearly going off track there, and Ali just kind of taking some evasive action to make sure that he didn't get contact between the two. But either way, Alex through now into 8th spot. He's looking very pacey, I've got to say. It looks like his race pace is very strong. So we'll have to watch Didier Antonio as this race progresses, as I suspect he might be one to watch to possibly even get in the top 5 if he continues this pace, as he just keeps advancing up the field. But it's calmed down a little bit now, that midfield battle. Still very close. I say that, and actually 5th spot is caught up quite nicely to 4th. That's Matthew Beavis and Tobias Rona. They're getting very close indeed in this battle. It's very interesting to see too, Dan, as it seems to me that it's almost like a bit of a seesaw battle, isn't it? You get one lap, the lead car gets away a little bit, gets a nice look out. The next lap, the guy behind him closes back in again. It's a bit of a up and down battle between these guys in the midfield.
It's seesaws and it's seesaws, but the consistency is where it needs to be, and you need to make sure that you've got the car where you want it, and you're not pushing too hard, but you're not going too slow. You just need to get in the rhythm of the race. If you push too hard too soon, the tyres will go off. If you're going too slowly, obviously you'll lose position. So the problem will be is just to make sure that you can, move on. You can move along nice and simply, and you just got to make sure you're being consistent. You can't ask for much more at this time.
Exactly. Apologies, by the way, if I was seeming to be on delay there. I accidentally had it on replay and I didn't notice. Apologies for that. Derpy moment for me, but we're all good now. So apologies if that was why I was a bit delayed on that one. Cheers to David for pointing that one out. I didn't actually realise it was on replay. But either way, we'll keep it on going on the broadcast here. Just going to mention as well, still, a shout out to Stander. He's still holding on to the end of this, but this battle between 4th, 5th, 6th, he's actually could even pass his teammate down the straight. It'd be a little bit interesting if he does. I'm assuming he'll just hold station. We want him holding up his teammate here in this critical battle in the top 5. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's just going to sit behind, possibly give him a little push down the main straight. I say that, and then he has looked down the inside. This is okay, Stander. Okay, there we go. He's passed his teammate Sherwin. That's interesting to see, as obviously Sherwin in that battle of the top 5, and yeah, just through goes his lapped teammate. But that could be tactical. Maybe Sherwin's feeling he's struggling a little bit on pace, might try and get his teammate to kind of tag him along to the 2 guys ahead of him. We'll see how that goes as we progress. Ali Ferry, by the way, does look like he may be just slowly coming back at Alex in that battle for 8 spots. It's another one to watch as we go along. Nathaniel Lobson's kind of in a bit of a no-man's land at the moment. He's got a couple of seconds. He said a fuffler seconds. Don't know what that's meant to mean, but a couple of seconds up to Sherwin in 6th spot, and he's got about a second back to Alex. So Alex has been slowly eking away at that gap as we've been going on. And keeping in mind, even Charles Bacchio and Martin Vindes are not too far behind these guys in the league as well. So this midfield battle is just so close right now. It's really fascinating to watch. There's really nowhere else to watch. Oh no, Matthew Beavers is at a really tardy exit out of the final corner. That's going to let Tobias Rona through as they go in the main straight. He's got the move done halfway down the straight, but Beavis is going to be there in the slipstream. So what this could end up doing is giving Beavis a chance now to get back at him in turn 1. Let's watch him as they go into turn 1. Tobias Rona on the outside. He doesn't go defensive as they go into turn 1. Matthew Beavis dives it down the inside, and it looks like, I don't think he's going to get it. Yeah, look at that. Ronas just holds it around the outside and keeps the position. It seems to me that the rubber and just the nature of the track is promoting that outside line. It just seems to be quicker, trying to hold on the inside. I don't think Beavis is going to get a chance to get him back in the middle sector. He's not. So, Stander nearly goes up the back of him there as they head into the left-hander. Almost a bit of an awkward moment. But, boy, yeah, Stander's almost pushing Beavis along. He's having a look at him here. Keeping in mind, Stander's a lap down. So, a little bit awkward right now. But it seems to me that Stander's pace is really impressive at this phase of the race. So, it's almost a bit of a what could have been, isn't it? If he wasn't a lap down, he could very well be tagging along with the top 3 with the pace he has done.
Yes, he certainly could be, and you've got to, like I say, it's the issue with the midfield battles now, though, is you've got to consider the rest of the race. If you are battling this closely, for this long amount of time, you're going to put a lot of strain on the front tyres because they're sat in the dirty air. You say about running wide at turn 1, that could well be where the faster line is for overtaking someone, but you're still getting out onto the marbles, dirty areas of the track, and you don't want to be picking up any marbles and stuff on the tyres. So sometimes pushing a little bit hard, maybe a little bit too early. We are on lap 15, or coming on to lap 16, I believe now. So we've still got plenty of time to go in this race to make sure we've got a fantastic race ahead of us. But don't risk it too early, just because you're trying to reserve position now.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's best to think the long game is what you want to be doing in these kind of races. By the way, Tal Siegel has retired, unfortunately. He's out of the race after those couple of incidents for him earlier on. So he now retires from that one down to 16 runners and riders. Still no safety cars, so it's still been green flag all the way to this point, which is good to see. May well be a case that we might be able to go most of the way, at least, with green flag racing. Oh no, who's that? It's Tobias Rona. He's gone round at the middle sector. He now drops to 8th, 9th. Will he drop to 10th? I think he might just hold on. He just holds on to 9th spot ahead of Halili there in that red and white car. So a bit of a shame for Tobias, I'm assuming, as I'll try and go back to the replay and remember to not keep it on replay. Let's have a look as he came into the middle sector where he just came in too hot through the double right-hander, came in too hot, lost the rear end, and around he went. It looks like he managed to avoid contact with the wall, so good stuff from him to pull up the car before it hit the wall. But either way, that puts him down now to the 9th spot. And he'll be a little bit fuming, I suspect, in that helmet of his, as he was in a very strong position there in the top 5. But either way, he has the pace to be up there, but he's now going to have to come pick his way back through this midfield to get his way into the top 5 once again. And Beavers now has actually managed to gap Sherwin ever so slightly, and Stander is still sitting there in between all this, and he's just cruising along in 14th. But this is good for him because it is sort of dragging him along to his next competitor. That next competitor is Campbell Wallace, and he is a long way up the road from Stander. He's about 3/4 of a lap almost ahead of him. So unless it's a safety car, I suspect Stander's going to struggle to catch up to the 13th spot man. Even actually Campbell's not too far off this midfield battle to be fair. He's kind of in no man's land himself at the moment. He's about 8 seconds or so off 12th spot, and he's got pretty much a whole lap back to Stander. But either way, if anything happens, he's there to capitalise. So he'll be one to watch if a big incident happens in that midfield as we go along. We're about 15, 16 laps in to this race. Frederick's still leading, and he's actually in. There we go. So Frederick in the lane. Oh, speak of the devil. He pits already. So he's the first man into the lane for a scheduled stop in this race. And Trevor Greenfield follows him in. So pit stops beginning in this race. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Whether have they gone red? They have again. So they're both on the red sidewall tyre once again as we head towards the meat of this race. We're actually not too far. It's crazy to think, isn't it, Dan? We're actually, only 8 laps or so off the midpoint of the race. It really has flown by, but I mean, with how close the racing has been, it's no surprise, isn't it?
It is no surprise, like I was saying, some of the people have been definitely stuck in the traffic, have really coming into pit, change their tyres. Now, I'm surprised they're not putting on a slightly harder compound and going to attempt to be running towards the end of the race. Of course, we are nearing the half distance, so maybe another 35, 40 minutes of racing left to go. I'm surprised they're not going on to a slightly harder tyre in order to make it go on the one stop. Maybe they think the benefits of the softer tyre where you can get a quicker lap time over a lot more laps, but of course you'll still have to come in and pit potentially for a new set of tyres after their shot will negate the fact that you are going quite so quickly. It is catch-22 really. Anything can happen, and maybe that's the quickest strategy, maybe not. We've got time to tell.
Exactly, yeah. No, I think that might be the way that they're thinking, to be honest. I was just watching Lubson. He got very, very squeally out of the last corner. That's going to give Frederick a chance to get by. Frederick's popped back out in 5th. And he's right behind Lubson, so you probably won't want to get held up too much, as Wilson is still circulating right now without stopping. And Lubson, of course, he's fighting for position, so he has no reason to let him go here. So he has every right to fight for this position, even if they are kind of in a different place strategically right now. But either way, I'm just watching as well. Sherwin's just put up the back of his teammate once again, so it'll be interesting to see if he perhaps lets him go. But either way, Lubson's still holding on. Well, I say that, and then he goes wide. So that gifts Frederick 4th spot. And now he's in a bit of clear air now as he continues on his charge through the field. Didier Antonio is also under the pump from Ali Ferry, so that battle has closed back up again in the last few laps. Trevor Greenfield, he's come out behind Martin Finders, so he's also trying to pick his way through the midfield. Tobias Rona, he was another one that pitted as well. Andrew Harper's also into the lane, and he's actually on the harder compound tyre as well, which is interesting. So he might be one of the few who's decided to go that route, strategic-wise. And I think, yeah, as I was going to say before I kind of went on a tangent there, I think the plan is, I'm assuming the field seems to have a general consensus that the quickness of the soft tyre outweighs that shorter lifespan compared to the hard tyre. So I think it looks to me, I'm assuming if they do keep on the strategy, I'm assuming it'll be a soft race, tyre strategy-wise for most of the field. So they'll probably, I'm assuming, go through to something like laps of 34, 35, I'm going to guess, on the strategy, and they'll pit again, put on another pair of softs, and they should be good for the end of the race. So interesting to see, though, the differing strategy, or the sort of that strategy, I guess, for what seems to be most of the field. Didier Antonio pitted, by the way. He's also popped back on another soft tyre, so it looks like most of the field, at least, is going to go that strategy. But interesting to see, one person who hasn't gone that strategy is Charles Bacchio, and he hasn't pitted, so I think he started on the harder tyre. So he might be one to watch. I think he'll definitely be going for a one-stop strategy. So we'll keep an eye on Charles, because he might be a little bit of a wild card. His pace hasn't been too bad, to be honest. He's been holding off the back of that midfield battle for pretty much the entire race. And I know they've been fighting between themselves, but even so, his pace has been pretty impressive considering he is on the slower tyre. So I think if anyone's ones to watch, it could be Charles. Lubson now has a look at Halili in that battle for 6th spot. Halili made a little bit of a mistake there through the sweeping left-hander before the final corner, and that has given Lubson a chance to possibly fight for that 6th spot. He gets a little bit squirrely on the exit, but it looks like he may have a chance, although Ali Ferry is giving Halili a very nice little toe as they go down the main straight, and they go through towards the first corner. This is going to be very close between all 4 of these guys. I reckon one of them might have a go. It looks like Lubson has a look at Halili. Oh, and Halili's gone wide. Oh, no, he's gone off track, and it's going to cost him a few spots at least. He drops down to 8 spots. Oh no, behind him, Martin finishes round into turn 1. Big spin there as he went into the first corner. I'll have a look back on the replay. It looked like there may have been a bit of a close one. Let's have a look. Oh, okay, that's going to be interesting. All right, so looks like into turn 1, I think Greenfield wasn't quite prepared for either. Actually, I think he outbroke himself. It looked like Trevor just went too deep into the corner. He's gone up the back of Martin, and that spun him around. So that might be a one that could be looked at after the race, I'm assuming. We'll leave that for the moment. But either way, that drops Martin down to 10th and drops him off the back of this midfield squabble at the moment. But it's going to be interesting, isn't it, Dan, to see where the likes of Charles Bacchio finishes being on that alternate strategy, to see if perhaps mixing up a bit, going for that harder compound tyre is quicker than going for the quicker tyre and maybe doing one extra stop.
It is. If you think that the softer tyre, of course it's quicker, but it might spend 20 to 25 odd seconds through the pit lane, coming in, stopping, going back out again. So you've got to think that they've got to be pretty confident that they can make up 40 or 50 seconds over the course of a race in order to use a 2-stop soft strategy rather than using a 1-stop soft and hard strategy. So if it can work, it will pay off. If it can't, well, we're going to be quite far back.
Yeah, exactly. No, very good, very true, very true. It'll be interesting to see. We'll watch him with interest. I think he'll be the one to keep an eye on, to maybe spring a surprise on the top 10. As I said, I'm watching. I'm definitely watching the BDI because his pace has been pretty strong. To be honest, he's been matching guys around him. Again, I know, as I said, I know there've been a lot of fighting that midfield, but he is still keeping pace with guys who are on that softer tyre. So we'll keep an eye on him because he definitely could be one to spring a surprise later on. Albie Ferry there, just getting passed by Lupson. That looked like he may have let him go, so possibly could have been some contact there. I missed that. He feels he needs to rectify that, or it could be a problem. He does look like he is really cruising around the circuit right now. Is Ali Ferry. I don't know if he's got some damage or if the tyres are just really, really struggling, but it does look like his pace has taken a bit of a sudden turn. As I know, Lobsom's gone off the final corner. He now drops behind back here, so he drops to 7th spot in this fight in the midfield. There is so much chopping and changing right now in this midfield as people keep having all issues as we go along. But it actually looks to me, now that I'm looking at this strategy, I think what's happening here is actually, look at this, it's Charles Bacchio on Ali Ferry into turn 1. I think he's going to get the move done as well. Or as he know, Ali Ferry once again holds it around the outside. But what that does do, it means he's got a very compromised exit as they head towards the left-hander. I think Charles might well have a very good shot at getting past him here as they head to the left-hander. Ali doesn't defend the inside lines, so Charles goes for the inside. Will he get the move done? Ali still holds again on the outside. Oh, so close between the two. It's still side by side. They head down into the middle sector. Now this Lobson is getting involved as well. It's almost a repeat of that situation earlier on between these three drivers, but Charles Bacchio gets the move done. Well done to Charles on that medium tyre, or harder compound tyre, apologies. And he now moves into 5th spot, just ahead of Ali Ferry and Nathaniel Lobson. I think those two are really struggling right now. So I reckon what they're trying to do is they're actually trying to go soft. They're trying to go the race on a one-stop strategy using that soft tyre. And I'm not entirely sure whether it's working. They just seem to be skating around the track so much right now with those tyres. But I don't know if the taking pain, as it were, is actually going to end up working. But we'll see as this race fleshes itself out in the later laps. But it definitely has been an exciting race, to say the least, so far, hasn't it?
Yes, it definitely has. It's thrown up all sorts of surprises so far, and we've still got plenty of time in this race to really show us what can come up in the next little while. What lap are we on now? I think we're heading towards mid-distance now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're only a lap or two off, yeah.
We're now at,
So-
lap 23 out of 50, so we are nearing half distance now, so it is really getting into the time where I'd be expecting people to be coming into the pit lane and starting to really think about a new course of strategy for them.
Indeed, yeah. So, and it's interesting as well, Lee Ferry and Halili just pitted. That's interesting. What have they gone on to? So, Halili's gone to the harder tyre, so he should be no worries at all to the end of the race. That's what you see. And Ferry has gone with the soft, so that's going to be interesting. He was really struggling, as I said, at the end of that stint, so I'm not entirely sure whether he's going to be able to make that last. So watch him with interest, because if he wants to get to the end, he's going to have to push that soft tyre a very long way to make that work. Either way, it's very interesting. It's, as I said, it's a bit of a mixed up order at the moment because people are on very different strategies right now. So it's all going to be one of those things where I think it'll all sort of flesh itself out in the last kind of 10 laps of the race. Sherwin Van Slot also, pits as well from, I believe that was 4th spot. And he also goes on the harder compound tyre. That is interesting. Daniel Lobson, he also pits now as well from, I believe that was 6th spot in the field. So he comes in. Let's see what tyre he goes on to. I wonder if he'll go onto the soft as well, or the harder. He probably could possibly make that soft tyre work, because it is pretty much bang on halfway, or about a lap or two off halfway, and he has gone on the soft tyre. There you go. So it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, remembering as well, as we mentioned, the dynamic track is something to remember as well. As the race goes on, this track is getting more rubbered in, and you're also burning more fuel. So the car's getting lighter, the track's getting grippier. It also means the tyre wear later on is not going to get as severe as it was earlier on, especially because, as I mentioned, the fuel load will be lighter. So theoretically, that last stint, that last half of the race shouldn't burn as much of the tyre as the first half. So that could be something to keep in mind, and maybe make those stints for those guys going for that soft tyre to the end to make that work. But Ali Ferry and Lobson both come out together again, 11th and 12th. I swear those two have not been able to separate themselves all race. Matthew Beavers, he also pits from 3rd, so he's in with the soft tyre. He's been in a bit of a world of his own since he's been one of the ones to stay out. Stan DeSignal also pits from 14th. And Beavers puts on the soft tyre as we are pretty much bang on halfway, so he should be good to the end of the race. One to note, by the way, James Wilson, he has not pitted. He's still going on that soft tyre. And I haven't been keeping an eye on his pace, but I've looked now. And I'll tell you what, it's not been too bad. He's been consistently keeping low 116s, even though he's been on that tyre for half the race. That's pretty impressive consistency, isn't it, Dan, considering that we've been seeing others who've been really struggling on more tyres. But James, he just keeps going on that soft tyre.
He is, and he is just showing how good he is at managing the tyres. But of course, it's also showing just how well he's been going. Of course, he was behind Frederick Chaussee in the first stint of the race, but it is showing that the clean air that he's had has really helped his tyres. As I've been saying, if you're in the midfield, you're going to struggle a bit more than you are if you're up at the front, purely because you're being stuck behind loads of other cars, throwing up dirty air, lots of really bad heat and all sorts of stuff, and it's not going to help your race at all.
Exactly, yeah. No, it's that being in that traffic really doesn't help, whereas, of course, James has had the opposite effect. He's been on his own for most of the race, and that's definitely helped him to keep his strategy going on. But either way, Frederick goes on, and I think it's quite clear to see the difference there. As I think we've got a battle going on. 7th place, yeah, good spot from Davey. Big battle going on for 7th place. It's Martin Vindus versus Tobias Rona versus Alex Di Domenico Antonio. Keeping in mind, Vindus also hasn't stopped, and he's not stopping this lap either, so he's going a long way on those soft tyres. He goes Tobias Rona around the outside, the signature move of this race. Can he make it stick? And he can, look that easy as you like. Gets the move done long before the exit of the corner, so that's a +1 to Rona. And Vindus has gone off there through the super left-hander, nearly cut into the path of Alex there as he tried to gather it up, but managed to avoid contact. So Alex now moves up to 8th as well, and Martin down to 9th as he continues to go on that soft tyre. He's been on that tyre for 25 laps now of this race. And that tyre, I'm sure, will be absolutely screaming at him to be changed. And he's actually dropping back into the hands of Campbell Wallace, and he was a long further back from him earlier on. So I don't know what Martin is aiming at right now, because if he's taken the soft this long, surely he should just pit. I mean, he's taken it halfway, so surely at this point you just pit for the soft or the hard. It doesn't really matter which one he goes. So interesting strategy call from Martin. It doesn't seem to be working, but we'll see how it goes. The safety car later on can very well throw this in the air, but we'll see how it goes this race develops. Frederick, though, leading handsomely right now, 10.7 seconds to James Wilson. That earlier stop from him has helped him out immensely, but what this does mean, of course, is James Wilson, he should be good to go to the end, so he won't be stopping at all again until the end of the race, will James, unless there's a safety car. As I mentioned, safety car, that comes out, I think everything kind of gets thrown in the air as Martin Vindus finally pits from the midfield, and I will see what he goes on. I suspect he'll go on the soft tyre, but I'll keep an eye on it for you. Yeah, James, not going to be pitting again, I would say. I would assume he'll be going to the end on that soft tyre, whereas Frederick, you would think, considering how early he stopped, he'll have to pit again for another pair of soft tyres, so he's going to drop another whole pit stop later on in the race, and that could well mean, Dan, that we have a very, very juicy battle at the end of the race, where we have James Wilson going along on the soft tyres, one set of soft tyres, and then we have Frederick coming at him with a brand new set of soft tyres in the last sort of 10 laps of the race. It could really lead to a fascinating battle in the last closing laps of the race.
Yes,
Oh,
it's going to
sorry.
be close.
Sorry to cut him down. Got a battle there. Just point out from Davey in P3. Apologies, Dan. We'll get back to you in a minute. We'll just watch this battle here as Beavis is coming under massive pressure from Charles Bacchio. I think is Charles pitting from third. He is. All right. Yeah, he did. He was on the hard tyre at the start, so he pits, and that sort of battle ends up getting neutralised. Apologies there, Dan. I was just jumping in that battle. And I'll just keep with it for a moment because I think Greenfield here might well get past. Oh, well, no, he won't. I was going to say he might have a shot at Beavis, but he gets a bit of a tardy exit out of the second corner. And I think that battle is neutralised for the moment. So apologies, Dan. Go on.
Yes, it is certainly getting very close. And like I say, if he's going to pit again, he's going to need conservatively a 20 to 25 second gap lead to be ahead of James Wilson. So this is the time where he's going to have to push like crazy, try and get a big gap and hope the traffic goes his way. James Wilson, meanwhile, needs to say, oh, I just need to stay within sight of him, really. I don't need to push too hard. I just need to be consistent and I'll get the good result.
Exactly right, yeah, and obviously for him, I think his end goal will be making sure he doesn't take too much out of the tyres. He's actually been gaining on Frederick in the last few laps. Obviously on brand spanking new soft tyres, he'll be full of pace and confidence in that car, and it's showing right now. So he's actually closing on Frederick at a quite alarming rate right now. It's down to 9.7 seconds, and it just keeps going down as those fresh tyres really work wonders for him as he goes along here. Let's have a look at the gap. It's closed down a little bit again. It's not coming down at insane rates, but it is coming down quite significantly. Sector by sector, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. But of course, Frederick, when he pits, he'll then have the opposite effect, as he'll have the fresher tyres, so he'll be able to do what James is doing there now. So, as I said, a bit of a seesaw battle, and we'll keep an eye on it for you. Matthew Beavis also still going. I'm fairly sure he hasn't pitted either, so kudos to Matthew for continuing on this long in third spot. Still ahead of Trevor Greenfield, who's kind of dropped back quite significantly, actually, from the top two. I suspect he's either had a little bit of an off somewhere, or he may have got held up in that midfield squabble after his pit stops. He did come out kind of buried in the midfield amongst all the other non-stoppers and the like. So he has now dropped to fourth for the moment. We'll see how that pans out, depending on what Matthew's planning to do on the strategic front. Struman Van Slot in fifth spot. He did chuck on the harder compound tyre, so he will easily be good to the end of the race, you would think, at this point. Twice Rona in sixth spot, trying to come back after a bit of an interesting race for him. Had a few offs there, here and there, which have cost him time. I think if he hadn't have had as many offs as he's had, I suspect he may well even be up with possibly even Greenfield and Beavis up there in that battle for third spot. So a possible what could have been for Tobias, but still plenty of time for him to make back that lost time. Alistair D'Amico Antonio currently in seventh spot, also on the soft tyre. About 3 seconds behind Ronas. Make that more than that now, as there's a big slide out of the final corner. Let's go drop him back a bit from Rona. Ali Ferry dropped back to 8. Now seems to be just trying to possibly get that tyre to last to the end of the race. Lupson down in 9th. Those two both have dropped back quite significantly over the last kind of section of the race. I suspect their stints in the first half trying to make those tyres last has really cost them in the grand sort of scheme of this race. Because Charles Bacchio in 10th spot has come up a few spots since the earlier phases, going with that hard strategy. He's actually gone double hard tyre for his race strategy, which is interesting to see, but showing decent pace on the harder tyre, which is interesting to see. Krishnik Halili is in 11th spot, also on the harder tyre, so he'll be good for the end of the race. Campbell Wallace in 12th, followed by Martin Bindus 13th, Stan Descendal in 14th, having a bit of a race of his own ever since the early instance. Norman Bruce in 15th, 2 laps down, and Andrew Harper rounds out the last of the running cars in 16th, 5 laps down, but still running, which is the main thing, so good on Andrew for that. But yeah, I think the main battle to watch at the moment, at least towards the end, will probably be that battle for the leaders. I was just about to hand over to you, Dan, but it looks like we've got a little bit of battle brewing here in 5th spot. Tobias Rona's coming at Sherwin Van Slot quite quickly as they go down the main straight. And obviously Sherwin on the harder tyre, so his pace not quite as good as Tobias at this phase of the race, but I think later on that's when he might try and come back at Tobias at the back end of the race, when that hard tyre, the durability factor of it starts to come to his aid. But right now it's looking like it's advantage to Tobias, as he is all over the back of the Syntec IndyCar as they head towards the left-hander here to begin the second sector. He looks to the inside line, but can Sherwin hold it? We've seen many times already in this race is people holding it around the outside. Oh, but he goes off track there in that battle, and he now drops to 5th, but I'm not sure on that one. I had a bit of a bad angle. I couldn't actually see whether there was contact. It looked like there was maybe a touch between the two, but either way, Tobias Rona, he now takes 5th spot from Sherman Van Slot. Slot drops to 6th spot. You may have to actually watch D.D. Antonio as well, so he's not far behind in 7th spot. But in that phase, aren't we, in the middle phase of this race, Dan, where it just calms down a little bit. A little bit of a calm full storm as we head towards sort of the last final stage of the race.
Yes, it is, because we now sit here and we think that the drivers all sort of calming down a little bit. They know what they need to do. They know they're in a little bit of clean air now, so they're just going to try and get on with it as quickly as they can. But also they're considering the end goal, because we've got this far so far. So if they're relatively close to another driver, they're maybe not going to make the audacious move they might have done in the earlier portion of the race, where they might have considered it was more all to play for, and now just slowly considering and thinking, okay, well, we've still got plenty of time to go here. We want to finish the race. We want to get these points for the championship, so we're just going to sit here and take it as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all pans out. I think at the moment we have someone had a big off further back. Was that Stander? I think it was Stander. Had a little bit of an off there through the second corner. It was either an off or it may have been just a bit of latency on my end. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, going along quite nicely. I'm going to be watching a little bit Ali Ferrian and Nathaniel Upson. I think they could be ones to watch as well. I was just talking about them, and no, Andrew Harper has retired, unfortunately. 16th spot, and he's out of the race. So Shane Vandrew was going along at the back end. Sure, his pace wasn't maybe up there with the guys ahead, but at least we're still running around. But unfortunately, it's a race over for Andrew. That leaves us with 15 runners and riders left. No safety cars as of yet, so it's been a green flag run all the way through. And I think it's a good thing for that. It lets the strategies play out to a more sort of proper degree than you would in a safety car filled race. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how Lobson and Ali Ferry go, because both of them were really struggling at the end of the first half of the race. When they're getting to the end of that first stint, they seem to be really dicey on those soft tyres. So I'll be watching them just to see how they go in the latter phase of the race, see if they can possibly manage these sets of soft tyres better than the first stint. Or what's that interest there? At the moment, they're kind of in their own little battle right now. They've got a little bit of a gap over Charles Bacchio, and they've got a bit of a gap up to Alex in 7th. So they're kind of in their own space, like most of the field, actually. Everyone's pretty spaced out right now. Matthew Beavers has actually managed to gap Trevor Greenfield quite handsomely now. He's got about 5 seconds back to his competitors. I thought I saw someone off, and I did. It was, who is that? It's Norman Bruce. I think he had a little bit of off there in the middle sector as he tries to get out of the way now of Tobias Rona. But yeah, it's all, as we were saying, all a bit quiet now. As everyone just trying to sort of get themselves sorted and get themselves set for that last phase of the race. I think the closest battle is actually about 12th spot. Campbell Wallace is pretty close with Martin Bindus. That's probably the closest battle. But again, of note, James Wilson, that gap continues to just slowly come down. It's down to 8.6 seconds now. And again, I'm almost certain Frederick would surely have to pit again. I can't see how he's going to get those soft tyres to last from when he pitted to the end of the race. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened in motor racing, so we'll keep a beady eye on that and see where that goes. But yeah, it's been a very interesting race so far. Some fascinating battles earlier on. They were so close in those early stages of the race. A couple of incidents here and there, Dan, of course, a couple of moments where we've had little contacts here and there, but overall, I think, considering how close the racing has been, it has been a great show of talent from pretty much the whole field so far.
It is, and the testament that we've only lost 3 people so far is showing that we are really pushing as hard as we can, and that the guys do know what they're doing, and also just sort of relaxing into the race. And this is what we want to see. We don't want to see an attrition race where we only get 7 or 8 races finished. We want to see as many races finished as possible, even if it dulls down during the middle part of any motor race. We're calm, and then we wait for the action to unfold, as I think into the pit lane has come Frederick Schornstein.
Yeah, it's looking like at the moment Frederick... Frederick is in the lane, as you mentioned. Yeah, he's just exited the pits now on the soft tyre again. No surprise there. But where is James? James just ended the first sector there, and Frederick's exited. So that's about... What is that? It's about... Ooh, it's got to be about 10 seconds or so, surely. We'll find out when he crosses that first sector. He's actually just beaten Matthew Beavis out. That is very handy for Frederick. That probably ended about as well as it could have for Frederick Schornstein there, as he's just beaten Matthew Beavis out. If he'd been any later, he would have been behind Matthew, and then he would have at least had to have probably gone through a lap. He's been stuck behind Matthew on worn softs. So, advantage to Frederick in that regard, but he's got 12 seconds to make up, and I know he's on new soft tyres, but that is a mighty gap he's having to bring in over the course of this rest of the race. But we will see that. As I said, that will be the battle, I think, to watch in the last kind of half dozen laps to see how they go, because obviously we have Frederick coming at him with new, less worn softs, and then James trying to nurse those soft tyres to the end. So watch that battle with interest. I think that'll be one that will develop towards the end. Also of note, Tobias Rona, he's been closing slowly but surely on Trevor Greenfield in the last kind of few laps. So that could be a potential battle that could sort of spark the next few laps, as I think Tobias is starting to find his groove again, which is good to see. He may well challenge for fourth very, very soon. Also, Ali Ferry and Nathaniel Lubson, they're getting quite close again. Those two might well start to initiate yet another battle once again for 8th spot as Trevor Greenfield and Tobias Rona. At the same time, we've got a battle of pit crews here for this stop. We'll see who wins. They both were pretty much line astern. It was advantage Trevor when they came in, but will Tobias beat him in the lane? Let's have a look. He's exiting now, but so is Trevor. I think it's going to pretty much stay the same. It is, so it stays exactly the same. DiMec Antonio also pits behind them. And yeah, so it looks like about now we'll probably start to see the final stops for most of the field now. And look at this, Lubson and I was looking to see if that battle was close. It's not. Lubson and Ferry getting very close indeed right now in this battle for what's now 5th. It won't be when the stops sort themselves out, you would think. But we will see as, oh wow, Lubson getting an interesting line there through the camp. Just kind of touched the grass there as he was going along, but Ali's looking under some big pressure from Nathaniel here as we head towards the latter stage of this race. Apologies, I'm just seeing that battle further back. That is Bacchio and Tobias Rona. I think Bacchio is trying to defend right now from Tobias and Trevor, who have just pitted, and Tobias has gotten by Trevor Greenfield in that first sector. Apologies on that, I was focusing elsewhere, so apologies for missing that one, but Tobias Rona through on Greenfield. Now, poor Charles Bacchio is the cork in the bottle. He's sitting there going, I'm trying to just do my strategy, man. I don't want to have you two right behind me. Oh, Greenfield nearly going up the back of Rona there as they went to the final corner. It's very close in this battle for 7th. Again, this is that differing strategies we were mentioning before. You've got Charles Bacchio doing his own strategy here for this race, and you've got these two guys on a different strategy trying to get past him. But what they are effectively fighting for position. This is a sort of strategy, fighting for position. I see Ferry and Lubson are close, but Rona makes the move on Charles Bacchio through turn 1. I think Bacchio knows these two are a lot faster than he is. I think he's just thinking, let's just sort of get to the end of races on. There's been an incident. Ali Ferry and Nathaniel Lubson have had an incident into turn 1, and this is all very interesting right now as Lubson is trying to get back up to speed and defend at the same time from Rona. Oh, Rona's gone. Oh, around the outside of turn 1. I thought he'd lost it on the braking, but he manages to gather it back up again. And now Lubson's the cork in the bottle himself as he's got charging Trevor Greenfield right behind him as they're heading to the middle sector. I think Greenfield's going to make the move to the double right-hander. Oh, they're side by side as they end into the middle sector, and he's made the move stick. That is a properly good move from Trevor Greenfield there. Just darts it up the inside. Little double right-hander and gets the move done. Fantastic stuff from Trevor. Just showing how much pace you can get just from being on that fresh rubber at this phase of the race. Charles Bacchio now to 8th. Ali Ferry now drops to 9th spot there in that IndyCar. Also, Halili and DiMec Antonio pretty much line astern, 10th and 11th, but they are teammates, so I'm guessing they will sort itself out in the coming laps. As I think Lubson might be pitting, is it? He is. There he goes. Lubson now pits from the midfield. He's going to drop down to probably, I'm trying to think where he'll probably come about actually near Wallace and Vindus, if anything. But what that does do is it puts Ali Ferry now up into 8th spot. She goes up a spot in the field in the top 10. Good stuff there. And she's actually looking like she might have a shot at Charles Bacchio towards the end of this race. Again, Bacchio, as I said, he's been on this alternate strategy ever since the start. As, oh no, oh, who's that? It's Trevor Greenfield. He's spun into the left-hander. Dear me, it's all kicking off now in the final stage of this race. I'll go back on the replay and see what happened there, but what was it? Ooh, looks to me like he broke a little bit too late, and a little bit of contact between himself and Ronan. He's the one who comes out worse off. That's interesting because it's the second time he's had a similar sort of incident. Obviously had that one with Ali Ferry earlier on in the race, so interesting. But again, there'll be something for the post-race stewards to sort out afterwards. But yeah, apologies, Dan. It's all kicking off, isn't it? In sort of last dozen laps of the race is showing absolute bits.
It's all going on now, isn't it? As you say, it is just trying to work its way around each other, and as you can see, drivers now starting to get into the rhythms, but also they're starting to get a bit too comfortable in themselves. So obviously this isn't the time where you can start napping, because that is where the problem can happen. If you're on older tyres as well, you can easily make a mistake which could easily cost you the race, which is something you do not want to happen to you. So really for the drivers, they're just going to have to sit here and think, okay, well, I can't go into an autopilot now because I've still got 10, 11 laps of the race left to go. But at the same point, I can't go into a mode where I'm attacking the circuit all the time if I'm on older tyres. And I've got to think, is my strategy working? Am I reacting well to the other drivers around me? It's all about trying to keep calm and collected.
Exactly, yeah. It's just trying to keep that consistency going. Do it pretty much. The top three have been doing. They are in their own league right now compared to the other competitors. I mean, that is partially possibly down to stops as well, but they are just so far ahead of everyone else right now. It's 13 seconds between the top three, and then from Beavis down to fourth, which is Tobias Verona at the moment. It's maths is failing me. It always fails me every time. It's about 34 seconds, I believe, between third and fourth. It's a huge gap between those two, and then it's a pretty tight gap from fourth all the way down to 12th or 13th even, relative to the gap from third and fourth anyway. So interesting to see the differences in pace right now, but either way, it's looking to me like Greenfield possibly looking like in back Valley Ferry here as they go down towards the first corner. Also, Campbell and Martin in 11th and 12th are quite close, but I think we'll keep an eye on this battle for 6th. I think Greenfield may have a shot very soon. And again, Nick Antonio is thereabouts. He's kind of been just doing his own race so far. Everyone else has been getting involved in instance. He's just been keeping it nice and clean, nice and consistent. And he's thereabouts. So I just heard, what was that? I just heard someone have an incident. Who was that? I cannot find who that was. Okay, I don't know. I heard the distinctive R-Factor 2 sound of bodywork going against wall somewhere, but I can't find anyone who's limping around. So obviously we're all good. Okay, so I heard it again there. I just had a little bit of a moment there of thinking, oh no, we've lost someone else. But either way, Greenfield right now, all over the back of Valley Ferry in this battle for 6th spot, and it's quite clear who has the better pace here. And again, Alex is right there as well to capitalise if anything goes wrong. So I reckon we're going to be seeing Greenfield getting past quite soon, because it looks like he has significantly better pace than the competitor ahead. And that's what I was thinking. We'll get back to what Dave was just, our camera extraordinaire, Dave Van der Ven, has just pointed out something that I kind of noticed, and I thought was the case, but we'll do that in a second. We'll just watch this battle in the midfield, as it's actually looking like Nick Antonio may have a shot at Greenfield soon. They're all sort of tightening up from 6th, 7th, 8th. However, he's not too far back either, so watch this with interest as they head down. Sorry, my voice is failing me there. Head down the back straight, and keep in mind, Charles Bacchio is also getting closed on. Again, he's on that alternate strategy, and he's also getting closed in on by these three, so we will have a four-way fight for 5th spot. We've seen how close that's been getting earlier on in the race. Sherman Sloot also pits again, by the way, so he's dropped way down. He's 13th now in this race. I assume he's had some kind of incident somewhere, because he's dropped well off the back of the fight in the midfield. But what Davies just pointed out a little earlier on is that I'm fair, and I noticed this as well, and I swear it was the case. I don't think Matthew Beavis has pitted at all this race. He's gone 42 laps on those soft tyres, which is absolutely mental. I don't know how he's done it, but his paces seem to be pretty decent, to be honest, as well. So I don't know how he's done it, but he's managing those tyres absolutely superbly to be on the podium right now. Amazing stuff from Matthew. If he indeed hasn't pitted, that is absolutely mental to go that long in that car. But either way, this battle for 6th is about to get very, very hot indeed. Ali Ferry having to defend here from Trevor Greenfield, and he goes down the inside into turn 1, gets the move done nice and cleanly. And look at that, Alex is right there as well. They are so close. Oh, Trevor gets a big slide on out of the second corner. I think we may see this battle recommence very soon. In the slipstream, Ali Ferry can have a look down inside in the left-hander. No, Alex is going to have a look into the left-hander. He might get the move done. He does. Nice move from Alex. But look at this, Ali Ferry does the switchback. Great move from Ali Ferry there. Does the old switchback on Nick Antonio as he goes too deep into that corner and gets back to that 6th, 7th spot. So great driving there from the number 35 IndyCar. But yeah, if Matthew Beavis hasn't pitted, Dan, that is a mighty stint on the soft tyres. To go 43 laps and counting on those tyres is just crazy, isn't it, compared to what everyone else has managed on those compounds?
It's something to consider when he's only 10 seconds behind Frederick Schornstein, who of course has pitted twice now. So, as I was saying earlier, that even just a one-stop strategy may be going longer than the hard tyres, but as you were saying, he's on the soft tyres. That's what makes it all the more interesting. So I think is definitely something to commend. Hopefully he can last the next 7-8 laps. If not, he's got more than enough time in hand to pit and should be up ahead of Tobias Rona in 4th place.
Exactly, yeah. I was just watching Alex make Antonio there. Gets the move done on Ali Ferry down the straight. Got it done before the straight. Again, that slipstream is just so powerful in these cars. Look at that. He's absolutely bolted already. He's got a lot of pace in that car, does Jimmy Antonio. And he's now bolted up in the 7th spot again.
Safety car deployed. Full course yellow under FX. No overtaking.
Whoa,
Pit lane is open.
We got a safety car.
The safety car has been deployed, so this would be a perfect time for Matthew to come into the pit lane, and that would really be a masterstroke for him. Everyone else who seems to be in an alternate strategy is laughing, and I think, speaking of laughing,
he has pitted, yeah.
Matthew Beavis, he must be laughing inside that car because he had a perfect gap. He might lose a position or two, but if he's lucky, he won't, and that is the key thing, really, because it now means, well, he's pitted it just at the right time. He's close to the leaders on, and more importantly, on 10-lap plus newer tyres. All of a sudden, we could be looking at him for the race lead.
We could, yeah. I mean, he should. Ooh, let's have a look. It's going to be close between him and Rona to see who wins. Rona's trying to go as fast as he can within the safety car rules to beat him, but I think Beavis has got it. So Beavis holds position, and he's now on a brand spanking new set, those soft tyres. He's going to have crazy pace, and he is in the prime spot. But again, as you mentioned, I suspect we're going to see probably most of the field peel off into the lane here. Sherman Van Slot is in, and to clarify why we have that safety car, it was actually because of Sherman. He's got no front or rear wing, so he's at a spin somewhere, and I think safety car called because he was trying to limp around in amongst the rest of the field. So just for safety concerns, the safety car was called just to make sure we don't have a mass pile-up or a massive crash somewhere along the track. So Halili and Vindus, are also in the lane. We'll see if anyone else pits. James and Frederick have continued on, so they're not pitting. So that's interesting to see. Tobias also has continued on, I'm fairly sure. I think everyone else pretty much has kept going. So this could be a fascinating race to the end, because we could well have the case that it could be Beavis, who's on is brand spanking new tyres against guys who have got worn softs, and he may be the one to watch, as you say, to be a real shot at this race win, just because of the case he just was on the perfect spot. I mean, even when the safety car was called, I suspect he was basically entering the straight when the safety car was called. That's how perfect this is all played out for Beavis. This is literally the perfect race for him. I mean, yeah, if he, as you see, it'll be masterstroke. If he can make this work, it will just be the most masterful piece of driving I think I've seen, to be honest. To be able to make those tyres last is just, it's crazy. It really is. So,
I think we mention it, and then the safety car has come out. So, for once, the curse of the commentator isn't the curse of the commentator who's actually helped him. So, you're welcome. I'll have your tenner in the post later, mate. But in all seriousness, what a fantastically well-timed pit stop. Intended or not, the strategy has worked. And now everyone's going to close up into the safety car. There is going to be a few lapped cars. I'm not sure of the proceedings here in the race department IndyCar series, whether lapped cars are allowed to join the back of the queue or not. If not, then he's got a few cars ahead of him which he will need to get past. If he hasn't, or if they are allowed to go past the safety car, then, well, he's laughing, isn't he? Because he's only got 2 cars ahead of him, and then one of them's the leader, so...
You know, I think from memory, I think it just stays as it is. So I'm fairly sure the lap cars just stay in amongst it. So a bit like the old-fashioned F1 rules and the like. So, yeah, so they will have to deal with those lap cars, which is going to be interesting. I think he's only got the one, though, to deal with, if I'm seeing this right. Okay, no, he's got 2. He's got 2, I think. Yeah, 2. He's got Stander and Norman Bruce he's going to have to deal with before he can get to those top 2. So he's got a little bit of an obstacle in the way, but it's not too bad. At least there's only a couple of lap cars, so it's not too bad for Beavis. But he will definitely be the one to watch. Tobias Rona is going to be 4th off this, and then Charles Bacchio on that alternate strategy is going to be 5th on those hard tyres. I almost think, to be honest, though, I almost think he should have pitted. He may as well have just taken the chance and got a set of softs and at least made sure he had some kind of pace at the end of this race. So he may be one who may get a bit left to hang out to dry by this safety car. He may end up being one of the guys who gets really badly hampered by this safety car. It's pretty much any of the track advantage he had in track position is now going to be wiped away. So we'll watch that. We'll see how his pace goes, but I think he may be one who might struggle when this safety car does peel off and we go back to green flag racing. So either way, a few others did pit, I think. Trevor Greenfield pitted for another new set of softs, so he pops back out in 10th spot, so watch out for him to be charging back through the field. And a couple others further back down who pretty much had nothing to lose also pitted. And I guess when you're down near the back, you may as well, because I mean you're not really going to lose anything anyway. So may as well put on a fresh set of boots and have some good pace. I think we're just waiting on a couple of guys. I think it's Sherwin Van Sloot and Martin Binders are pretty much the last two to join the queue. And that I did not mean to rhyme that, but it works either way. But yeah, I think they're the last two to join the queue, and then we're good to go for the restart. So I reckon we'll probably have one more lap on the safety car, as those two aren't too far behind now. So one more lap, and then I reckon we'll probably go green flag racing with what should be, I believe, 4 laps to go. 3 or 4 laps to go. I always get confused with the R factor lap system, which one it is, but I think it'll be 3 or 4 laps to go in this race. So it is a literal definition of a sprint to the finish for this race. And I'll tell you what, Dan, this is going to be an absolute cracker of an end for this race.
And this is going to be a 4-lap dash for the cash, and that is what we love in motor racing. We love just seeing these drivers on edge for a couple of laps at a time. It's qualifying in the middle of the race. This is what we're here to watch. This is what we live to see. This is sim racing.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. This is what we all come to see in sim racing. Just absolutely, just super close racing to the end of the race. Stander, Sendel, and Sherman Van Sloot have both pitted again. They just pitted earlier and they've pitted once again. So not going too well, I hate to say, for the Simtech boys. They were looking good earlier on. They had good pace, but it seemed like the race has just kind of disintegrated a bit for them in the latter stages. And their pitting means they're going to drop off the back. So we may even get another lap of safety car. Hopefully not. Hopefully they can get the pit stops done and get out of there ASAP. But either way, we may have to do another lap then of safety car, because it looks like Stander may actually have some pretty major damage to his car as he's still in the lane. So that's interesting. Sherman's going to stop right next to him as well. So a bit of team spirit there for the Stimtech boys. But yeah, going to be a fascinating charge to the end. Hopefully we can get some good number of laps in to decide this one. But as you said, I think Beavis will be the one to watch in this one. And I think I've just noticed who was the lap car. I think it was no, I thought he had 2. Oh yeah, he does. Okay, I don't really know. Just seeing things. Yeah, no, it does only have 1. Okay, so Beavis only has the 1 lap car in Norman Bruce. I suspect the other one is actually pitted for new tyres. So that helps Beavis. He's only got 1 lap car in his way. So hopefully if Norman wants to be smart about it, he'll get out of the way. So we are going green flag racing here. This lap by. So here we go. Ready to go. That dash for the cash here in the last few laps of the race. This is going to be an absolute cracker here. As Norman Bruce, look at that. He's straight away. He's got out of the way. Good stuff from Norman. He's got straight out of the way, but already look at that. Those top 2 have got a nice little gap over Matthew Beavis as we head down towards turn 1. Green flag here after it's restart 1, what should hopefully be the only restart of this race here at Brazil. James Wilson leads them into the first corner, but he's got a charging Frederick Schornstein right behind him. And remembering, he's on fresher tyres than the man ahead of him, so watch him to be very fast. Look at this, Frederick's got a fantastic run out of the second corner. He's looking at James Wilson already as they head down to turn 3 here at the left-hander to begin the second sector. But James defends. Good defending from James. And it's interesting, Frederick did not go around the outside. I wonder if that's because he hasn't noticed how quick it is to go that route, because he hasn't really been battling anyone throughout this entire race. So interesting stuff there. But either way, Wilson holds. But look at Beavis. He has come at them so fast on those new tyres. It's actually ridiculous. So Beavis is looking super, super racy right now after this restart. He's almost pushing Frederick through the middle sector. There's a look down the inside, but not quite close enough to make a move. Just kind of lets Frederick know. He's like, I'm here, man, and I'm on fresh tyres, so you better watch out, because I'm going to be coming as well. And look at Tobias Verona. He's also looking super racy. This top 4 are so close right now. And look at that, Charles Bacchio. He's under so much pressure in 5th place, trying to make those medium tyres, the harder compound work. But either way, we run down the main straight now. James Wilson is going to have to defend for his life, because he's got a charging Frederick Schornstein coming at him like an absolute freight train. Look at this, Frederick goes for that outside move. Can he make it work? The default was the trademark move. He doesn't. James defends again. Great defending from James Wilson here to keep this move. But just look at Frederick. He's just so close to James Wilson. It is actually insane. And James again defending the inside line. Can Frederick? God, I don't think it's quite close enough. Look at Matthew Beavis Having a look as well. He has a look but can't make it stick in again. James defends. Unbelievable defending here from Wilson. He's just getting absolutely hounded by Frederick Schornstein. Again, he has a look, but he just isn't quite close enough. It's so close. In this battle for the lead, Frederick gets a little bit of a squiggle out of the double right-hander, but he manages to hold on. But these guys are so close, and Charles Pacquiao has got such a train behind him as he tries to make the harder compound work. He's holding for the moment, and again, Beavis is so close to second spot. And Tobias Rona, again, he's just sitting there waiting for these guys to slip up, and he can just go, thank you very much, and yawn the podium out of nowhere. So here they go again on the straight. Beavis, it's a very tardy exit onto the main straight, and I think this could mean we might get on the pump from Tobias Rona as they go down the main straight. And all this battling has let Wilson just get a little bit of a breather as we head to the final lap of this race. Look at Tobias Rona trying to find a way around Matthew Beavis. They head into turn one, but again, Beavis defends. Great defending from from Matthew there to hold that position. Nathaniel Lobson gets the move done on Charles Pacquiao. He now moves into 5th spot, so Pacquiao's pace is just not quite there as we go into the final lap of this race. Unbelievable battling in this race for lead. But I tell you what, as long as James keeps this on the straight now, I actually think he's going to win this race. After being in second pretty much the entire race, he may well come away with this win, but we'll keep an eye on it. There's still time for Frederick to make the move. He just looks so fast in that middle sector, but he just can't get that last corner right to get the move done. But he's still got to worry about Beavis. Beavis is just all over the back. Frederick has a look down the inside into the left-hander, but not quite. He can't quite break the lead enough. Frederick, he's round. Frederick's round. A championship leader is off in the middle sector. He's going to drop way down the field. 7th, 8th, 9th. He drops to 8th spot after that spin. Big moment for Frederick. But what this does mean is James Wilson, ladies and gentlemen, after being second spot for pretty much the entire race, is going to win the 5th round of the IndyCar World Series here at Race Department at the Interlagos circuit. Great race from James Wilson. Takes the win. He will be absolutely over the moon with that. Great stuff from James. He wins from Matthew Beavers, pulling an absolute strategic masterclass to get second spot. Tobias Rona ends up on the podium out of nowhere after a pretty topsy-turvy race for him. He ends up a podium sitter here, so great stuff from Rona. Nathaniel Lubson, remember him, he was down at the back end of the 10 before the safety car. He gets a 4th spot out of this race. Unbelievable stuff. The DHR, they'll be very happy with that. Charles Pacquiao on that alternate strategy holds on to 5th spot. Great stuff from Charles to make that strategy work. Didier Antonio comes home in 6th spot. Great stuff there. Ali Ferry comes home in 7th spot. Good result in that one. 8th spot for Frederick in the end. So big disappointment for Frederick. I think he'll be so disappointed with that, I suspect. After looking like the dominant force all race, just throws it away at the end of the race. Just pushing just a bit too hard to get that win, and he ends up 8th spot. Which is going to have massive ramifications in the championship hunt. So we'll have a look at that afterwards. Martin Vindus ends up 9th spot. Trevor Greenfield coming in for new tyres there at the restart. Didn't really work for him. He ends up 10th spot. So another driver that looked strong earlier on, but sort of faded there after the safety car. So a bit of a shame for him. Campbell Wallace ends up 11th spot, the last driver on the lead lap. Lilly in 12th. Sharon Van Sloot gets 13th from Standerson in 14th. And Norman Bruce rounds out the finishes in 15th, 4 laps down, but at least he finishes and gets some good points. The retirements for you, Andrew Harper, Tao Siegel, and Sersman there. The only 3 retirements from the race. I'm out of breath, Dan. I'll let you sum up your thoughts on that one.
It was close, wasn't it? The strategy that Matt Beavis pulled off in the last few laps of the race really showed why he got that second place. It is such a shame for Frederick Schornstein, who spun out on that last lap, but that does mean for the likes of James Wilson and Matthew Beavis is that it is going to help them in the championship fairly significantly as we head up towards the final round in Fortana in a couple of weeks' time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really spiced up the championship fight, hasn't it? That result, it was so close. That battle at the end was just mental between the top 4. So great stuff from everyone to make that work and just have such a close end to that race. So And we do, yes, we still have the rerun of the Indy 500 to go. So there's another round that is still to come after for Fontana. So more racing to come in this series. I'm just flabbergasted by how close that was at the end there. But we do have a few interviewees in here for us. I think we've got three of the drivers in here for interviews. So we'll get started on them. I guess we should really, I mean, there's only one place to start, and that's with Mr. James Wilson, the man of the moment. I mean, James, that was just, I don't know what to say. Just, how was that for you? I mean, as I said, that after restart, that was just some mental stuff between the four of you. So close, but yeah, great stuff. Congratulations. How was that for you?
Well, once I saw Frederick pit, I looked at my fuel and I was like, I could do this on one stop. And I knew Frederick was going to have to do two, so I just risked it. Tires were a nightmare at the end of each stint, and I had some pretty decent pace despite having really worn tires. And well, in the second stint when the safety car came out, I just thought, yeah, it's over. I can't do this now, because I knew how much faster Frederick was and fresher tires and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was a very close battle indeed for you guys there at the end, but you managed to hold on. Obviously, helped Frederick just having a little bit of a moment there on the last lap. But how was the tire wear for you during that race? Because I was sort of wondering with those soft tires how they went lasting the distance. Obviously, you pushed them quite a long way, longer than Frederick. I could tell you were going for the one stop. So how was the tire wear for you? Because you did seem to still have a decent pace even towards the end of that stint.
In the first stint, the tire wear was quite high. I'm not sure why really. I guess I was being more aggressive because at the start I was trying to open a gap to third so I could maybe secure the second, because at that point I really wasn't thinking of the win. And when I came out the pits, all I could do was just drive smoothly, run a nice consistent pace, and I knew I'd have a 15-ish second gap over Frederick once he makes a second stop. So I thought if I drive consistently instead of pushing for lap time, then that might favour me at the end.
Yeah, exactly. No, it definitely did, didn't it? Because it just that after the making that strategic call, it just made you in the perfect position to take the win. So again, congratulations, James. Great race from you. Fantastic stuff, and look forward to seeing what you can bring it for the rest of the rounds and what the championship will hold for you. So yeah, congratulations, and yeah, see you in the next round.
All right, see ya. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thanks for coming in. So next up, I'm trying to look at who will go next. You know what, we'll go...
Ben Beavis.
Yes, I think actually we should speak to Matt Beavis. Now,
Yeah,
I think the one question on everyone's mind has got to be, how did you make the tyres last that long?
I don't know. They felt, on the graph I've got in game, obviously, the tyres are very red, but I was still able to keep pace. But it was difficult. Switching the brake balance around a lot helped. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose the setup was quite slow, to be fair. I was losing time in the middle sector all over the place, so that might have actually helped me out come the end of it.
I was going to say, obviously you pitted at the perfect time. We were saying just on comms that obviously you've gone as long as you did on the tyres. By the time, just before the safety car, we said actually that if you did need to come in, you've got a big enough gap to, I can't seem to recall who was behind you.
Was it Trevor Greenfield, was it?
I'm not sure, but
it was.
Okay,
well, I didn't need to pit at that point, and as it was called, I was coming onto the start-finish straight, and then Mateus said, "Pit's open," and that's when I went, right, okay. Then I went in, and then I've got a spotter who then said, "Yep, confirmed it for me." That I'd made the right decision at that point, and yeah, it was good to go. Really, it was it was really good. And also earlier in the race, I mean, you come out side by side with Frederick. That was a bit. I couldn't get in front of him, unfortunately, but yeah, no, it was a good time to pit, and I was right on Frederick's pace when I pitted. When I come back out with him, I had fresh tyres on. I could keep with him. I know it's being held up by James, but great job with James. I mean, how he didn't get by, I don't know, because there's no way I would have kept him behind on my tyres being that warm.
Well, of course, with James and yourself finishing 1-2 on the podium, it's really helping you two in the championship now that Frederick had that spin on the last lap and dropped him down to 8th. So
Yeah, it's a shame he had the spin, but obviously I've got a little bit of a smile on my face because I know it's narrowed that gap. Where did he finish, by the way?
I think he finished in 8th place.
Yeah.
Okay, so he still collected some good points. So like what happened to me at Sebringen, so I don't feel so bad now. It's like evened it out a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was
But
still
it's
in.
unlucky.
Congratulations. Yeah, and congratulations on the results again. Kudos for getting the tyres to last so long. It certainly mystified me, but yeah, great stuff either way, Matthew, and look forward to seeing you in the next round.
Yes, thank you.
No worries at all. We'll move now to Tobias Rona in 3rd spot. I've got to say, Tobias, great race, great result to get the 3rd, but yeah, it was a bit of an interesting race for you because you had a few little moments throughout the race, and in that fight for the midfield that we were focusing on for a lot of the race because there was just so much going on in that midfield fight, but in the end, you were there at the right time, right place for the safety car, and there you were on the podium. But how was it for you? Because it looked like it was a bit of a up and down race from where I was looking.
Yeah, I did not think I would actually end up on the podium after all the mess I went through in the early stint. I was planning from the get-go to do a 2-stop strategy with alternate tires. And well, in my first stint, I was just pushing it a little bit too hard in some instances. And yeah, just ended up turning the car around twice. And then after my tires were very flat spotted, I pitted a bit earlier and then just tried to put in fast laps. And definitely the yellow at the end helped me a lot in getting back into a good position. Otherwise,
sure.
yeah, would have not been possible to get on the podium tonight.
Yeah, indeed. No, it definitely would have. It definitely helped you to get on that position. But just sort of looking forward to the next 2 rounds. Obviously, we have redo the Indy 500, but looking to Fontana for the next one. Obviously, oval racing. So we're going to be doing ovals to finish off this series. Are you looking forward to the oval racing? Is that more your sort of style, or you prefer the road racing in these cars?
I consider myself 100% more of a oval racing guy in these cars, at least. I mean, I watch all the IndyCar series live, like as much as I can, at least on TV or on the internet. And the ovals are always my favorite part there. And I also like the strategy involved in oval racing. It's all a bit more, thinking driver. I'm not saying I'm a thinking driver, but I try to be at least.
Yeah, indeed. No, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. See the differentiators with who's strong on the ovals, who's strong on the road courses, and who does the bit of a balancing act, a jack of all trades, so to speak. Yeah, thank you for coming in, Tobias, for the questions, and again, congratulations on the podium. Considering the race and just being a bit up and down, it's a good result. So congratulations and good points for you.
Thank you.
No worries at all. And Dan, I'll let you finish off with Freddie.
Well, I should think Lorenzo had a questions for Freddie before we get underway, so I'll let Lorenzo with that one.
I absolutely do. Now, Fred, talk me through the 3 last laps, please.
Pretty good, except of the last sector, I think. I mean, it's good that there's no such team radio or something like that, because it would have been a big beep, I guess, on my part, because I was just swearing and hammering on the steering wheel. I mean, I decided just I think 30 seconds before the race to do a 2-stopper. Because I only had the practice session before the race, so 30 laps. And yeah, I mean, pace was good. I was on pole, but on full fuel, the car felt pretty much shit, to be honest. And I had a lot of overheating of the tires in the middle sector. So I said, okay, I mean, I look good on pace, just try a 2-stopper. If there's a safety car, I should win. If not, it will be a very interesting and pushing race. So I did that, and yeah, I lost a lot in the middle stint with some traffic, so I was not looking close enough to James. It would have been close to the end, but when the safety car came out, I thought, okay, I won the race now, because there's no way he can keep me behind. And yeah, unfortunately he did, and I pushed a little bit too hard in the end and spun.
Well, that's a shame that happened, but that must help some others in the championship. That must be a bit disappointing for you, considering how strong you were throughout the race. and dropping down to 8th in the end, meaning that you'll lose a couple of points in your championship lead, which means that, well, 2 races left to run. It's going to be tight, isn't it? How are you looking forward to the ovals?
Yeah, I mean, I know that James would be missing the next round, so I was more focused on Matthew this round because I will miss the next round as well, but I haven't wrote the notice until now. So yeah, basically I can only hope for Indy and hope that Matthew probably can make the next race to keep it somewhat fair in the championship. But I mean, what can you do if you miss it? Even I mean, if I have won today, though, it would be still very open for Indy 500 because it was a double points. It will be a very decisive race.
Indeed, no, for sure. It all definitely ran off the season, definitely ran off in the bang, that's for sure. So it's probably a good thing in a way that we're in the rerun because we get to end on the Gold Indy 500, really classic way to end the IndyCars. It's kind of what they're known for. So thank you, everyone, for coming in for the interviews. Always good to get to interview the drivers, find out the perspectives from you guys yourselves of what actually is going on track. So thank you guys all for coming. Congratulations for all the results that all of you guys got for this race. So that about does it for this broadcast. We'll do final thoughts. And yeah, Dan, I mean, I think it was pretty much had it all, didn't it? We had safety car, we had action-packed racing, we had strategy. It was just pretty much everything you want in racing was there, I feel.
Yeah, it was a very lovely race that we could watch. You know, it was all that we needed to see. As you say, there was strategic moments. There was moments where we had some fantastic battles. There were moments when we just couldn't comprehend what happened, like with Fred at the end. Unfortunately, his spin, we just couldn't really comprehend what had happened. And still here, you can't quite believe the result is what it is. But it was a fantastic race, and I am very much looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It'll be a fascinating last 2 rounds to end this series, the inaugural series of the IndyCar World Series at Race Department. I hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast. I certainly enjoyed that final sprint to the end. It was pretty hectic to watch, but very, very entertaining nonetheless. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again, as always, to Lorenzo Bonder and Matthias Machado for running the league and making it run as smoothly as it does. So thank you, as always, to them for providing us the league where we're seeing this great racing. And as always, big thank you to Davey van der Ven, our cameraman extraordinaire. Always so fantastic on the cameras, does an amazing job. And big thank you to Davey, as always, for all he does for us for the broadcast. And again, thank you for Dan Marr for being alongside me. It was a pleasure doing commentary with you, Dan. And yeah, I look forward as well to the final 2 rounds of the series. So we look forward to seeing you in the next round in Fontana. Until then, I'm Thomas Inns, and we'll see you for the next round of the Race Department IndyCar World Series. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do you have what it takes? Tighten your belts. Shut your visor. The battle begins now.